Good evening. My name is Max Parker. I'm president of the school board for San Angelo Independent School District. I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight for our regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I'm going to call our meeting to order. All our board members are here, so we have a quorum. And I'm going to ask Pastor Sankirk Bailey from St. Paul Baptist Church to be here, and she's here, and she's going to lead us in our invocation.
Good evening, everyone. May we bow? Father, as we come before you in this moment, Father, we first want to ask for your guidance. We ask also, dear Heavenly Father, that you may guide every student and staff that is a part of this school district, that you would guide them in an experience of more love, with more protection, and with the guidance that you provide. May your love be the driving force in all that we do for our children and as well for all that lead by education. Father, I pray that your will be done today. I ask that you would encourage every child through every struggle that they have, that you would lead them, God. Father, in the name of our Lord, protect them, guide their feelings and their emotions, that they would know that this district stands together in unity, so that together we can produce children that will grow up to be great adults in our community. Thank you, Father, for the wonderful legacy that Ricky Black left us, dear Heavenly Father. We ask that you would comfort everyone that is connected to her, as well as her family in this time. Father, we again just want to thank you for your guidance and your presence in this district, and ask that you would lead each and every member, that, Lord, your will would be done for our community and for our children in every school in this district. May all here be encouraged to continue to be the important part of the peace of this San Angelo Independent School District. We thank you again for your guidance. Amen.
Thank you again, Pastor Bailey. Now we have some students here from Santa Rita Elementary School that I'm going to ask to come forward. They're all fifth graders: Uriah Polanco, Liam Cuellar, Addison Stobar, and Lila Rodriguez. And would you all please stand? They're going to lead us in our pledge to allegiance to the United States flag and also to the Texas flag. Parents that want to come up and take photos, come on up. Thank you again, students. I welcomed you a few minutes ago, and I want to now read an introductory script that we read to comply with our minutes at every regular meeting. Besides welcoming all of you who are in attendance tonight, I also want to welcome all who are watching the recording of this meeting online on our public access channel, Suddenlink Channel 4. We appreciate your interest in our students. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most, if not all, of the items on our agenda this evening have been previously discussed at our earlier pre-agenda workshop. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district and to vote on items that are recommended by our administration. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, prior to taking any votes on any agenda item, I will ask audience members if they would like to make any comments. Also, anyone wishing to make comments on any agenda item should do their best to limit their comments to 5 minutes or less. Also, we have an item on every one of our meeting agendas that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team on an item not on our agenda an opportunity to do so. Please fill out one of the forms in the back should you want to speak on an issue not on our agenda. Please limit your comments, again, to 5 minutes or less. Also, please understand if you speak on an item not on the agenda that the board cannot reply to you except to thank you for your comments, since the matter has not been posted for discussion. Tonight, some of you I've already gotten a sign-up sheet to talk about school issues, school closure, sustainability plan. If it has to do with sustainability plan, that is an agenda item tonight on number 8. So you do not want to speak in public comments number 6 on topics not on the agenda if you're going to be talking on something to do with the sustainability plan. In compliance with state law, these proceedings are recorded and will become a part of the SAISD's permanent legal record. In order that the recording will adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's meeting, and I thank you for taking time to join us this evening. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of our district. At this time, I'm going to turn our program over to Molly Turk, who's in our communications department, as she has some recognitions.
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rebecca Klein, our Director of Assessments and Counseling, since our recognitions have to do with some counseling awards our counselors and students received.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, administration, and community members. I'm very pleased to be here to recognize a couple of our students and several of our counseling staff that have earned awards this month. February is National School Counseling Month, and the second week of February is the actual week we celebrate that. The first thing I want to do is talk about where the awards come from. So Three Rivers Counseling Association, which is an association part of Texas Counseling Association, or TCA, our local chapter reaches out to have nominations put in for Counselors of the Year and then Student Tribute Awards. So the first thing I want to do is talk about our Student Tribute Awards. TRCA gives these awards to students in the community that have overcome challenges or obstacles to become successful. Most of them are on track to graduate and have post-secondary ideals that they want to chase. So the first one we have tonight is Julia Moran from Central High School. If you're here tonight and I call your name, after I'm done, we'll come up here and get some pictures. Julia Moran from Central High School. We also have Erin Martinez Hernandez from Lakeview High School. Both of those students have overcome obstacles to be successful and to be able to graduate this year. Are either one of our students here this evening? Okay. The next recognition I would like to visit with you all about is our Counselor of the Year Awards. Again, Three Rivers Counseling Association reaches out for nominations, and these are nominated usually by school principals, parents, community members, anybody who has worked with the counselor. This year we have all 3 elementary, middle, and high school counselors They have come from our district, so that's pretty amazing. We have Ashley McDonough. She is our elementary school counselor of the year. Erica De La Garza, our middle school counselor of the year. And Rachel Gondar, our high school counselor of the year. So are any of our counselors here this evening? I know that they've been busy testing, so. Okay, Rachel Gondar, I want to add something with that. She was also recognized at the state level, and so she moved on as the state high school counselor of the year and will be nominated for the national level. So we wish her luck. The last recognition I'd like to visit with you all about is the recognition of the winners of the CREST Award. The CREST Award is given for counseling teams or counselors, and it stands for Counselors Reinforcing Excellence for Students in Texas. This award is given to campuses who have strong, comprehensive counseling programs that align with the Texas model and includes anything from guidance to individual counseling, responsive counseling, and of course, supporting the system that they work in. This year, this is a state recognition, by the way. This year, we have 3 campuses. Lone Star Middle School. The counselors there are Amber Garza, Michael O'Brien, and Justin McClure. Lincoln Middle School, which is Erica De La Garza and Beth Makeda. And Lakeview High School, Rachel Gondar, Diana Treadaway, Stacy Riddle, and Jenny Rupert. Do we have any of our counselors here tonight? Okay. We appreciate all the things that counselors do, and I know that I see a lot of administrators in the room and parents and other staff that have talked to counselors and utilized counselors. So again, thank you, and I'll pass it on to the next thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker, Dr. Detloff, and members of the board, as Mrs. Klein goes back to her seat, I would like to take this time to thank Mrs. Klein for her leadership as our directors over counselors. Her support and guidance for our counselors and their teams is a great testimony to their success. And many of you participated in last week's CBAS, where our counselors were part of our rotations for safety and well-being. So thank you, Ms. Klein, for your leadership and support for our counselors and our campuses. Our final recognition this evening is for our SAISD CTE teachers, and I think Mr. Eskew is having them come in. So in addition to February being National Counseling Month, it is also Career and Technical Education Month. Let's see if they're coming on in. I think so. Fantastic. If you guys will just form a line right up here to the pillar. Perfect. So February is Career and Technical Education, or CTE. We like our acronyms in education. Month in recognition of the value of CTE programs and a student's educational experience and the achievements and accomplishments of CTE programs across the country. San Angelo ISD is proud of our expansive CTE programs that support student future readiness with courses providing clear direction to pursue high-demand post-secondary opportunities, whether that be a college education, joining the military, or entering the workforce. These staff members have been quite busy during the month of February. So again, thank you for taking more time out of your very busy schedule. We had many that could not join us this evening, but those that were here, we do want to join you with recognition and also a pen of appreciation. So Dr. Detloff, if you would come up for the picture. When you come up, I'll call your name. If you will stay up, we'll take one collective group picture as well. So it's kind of like award ceremonies. I apologize in advance if I mess up your name. I try my best. Think of it as district celebration as well, okay? So we'll start. Come on up. First up, Raymond Bannert. Next up, Douglas Foley. Next up, John Hopkins. Next up, Ashley Lopez. Next up, Teresa Pertel. Next up, Scarlett Rodriguez. Brittany Sanchez. Stephanie Sill. Hunter Smith. I know, I had to go with the legal name. Sorry. He was writing me a note on his certificate. Hunter, I'll print you one with Hunter. Jennifer Urbanik. Sherilyn Walker. And Lindsay Ward. We have many more. Now, if you will please join me with a round of applause. Okay, Dr. D, you have to get where we can see you. Good try. Now, before we take the group photo, I would like to also thank our director of CTE, Mrs. Roxanne Fentress. Mrs. Fentress had a medical procedure and is still resting. We think that is super important. She tried to come today, and I gave her a directive. She had to stay home. She wanted to come, but again, it's very important that our staff take care of themselves. So, y'all heard it from me. She tried to come. I sent her a message. She had to stay home. We can't do the things that tap into all the ways students are smart without staff such as you. So thank you for allowing us to recognize and honor you. Now, if you'll look here, we'll take your picture. Oh, group. See, some of these prepare future teachers. You can maybe tell which ones prepare future teachers. Uh-huh. Okay, Miss Walker, if you will start going around, we will shake hands. But give me just a second. I have to run.
All right. We'll continue on with our agenda tonight. Next, we have to approve our minutes from January 9th, 2023 pre-agenda workshop and January 17th, 2023 regular board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Dendel, second by Mr. Gallegos to approve this item. Is there any other board discussion? Is there any public comment on this item? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. All right, this is what I mentioned earlier. This is public comment on topics not on the agenda for this meeting. As I said, there's several that have signed up for this particular agenda item, but most of these say school issues, sustainability plans, and school closure. So I assume that's going to be for item 8, but if anybody has some comment on there's others here. If anyone has any comments on something that is not on the agenda, this is your time to come forward. I see no one coming, so, oh, all right, come on up. Oh, there you are, come on up. Go ahead,
My
Mr.
name is
Fas-
Virgil Passetti. First time I've had an audience, so it's good to see a lot of members here today of the community. I wanted to make some comments today on some issues that I've been bringing up with the district. At the pre-agenda meeting, I saw that, Parker Hill's going to be here to discuss, the state of disrepair of some of our schools. Tony's going to be here I'm not supposed to say Tony, the director of facilities is going to be here to talk about his stuff. And one of the things that, kind of really got to me is we were talking about not having enough head count. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need tradesmen. And the fact that we know that we have limited access to these trades, we only have one cabinet maker, and we have all these schools, and I've seen the school that my son goes to, and one of the number one projects I saw on there was rebuilding the kitchen here at the admin building. And that kitchen wasn't in disrepair like some of these schools are. And while we would take that away from the kids and put it into this building, when this building is far from disrepair compared to what our kids are in, I have a concern about that. How did that happen? Why would we do that? Why would that be number one on the list, is doing something for the admin building? I keep saying the same thing. I feel like we're here for the admin instead of the admin being here for us. Before we do any more adjustments to admin, we just did a raise for admin 111. Maybe we need to take that money and find us a master electrician, because that's a person that can go out and make a difference for these kids today. Same way with the plumber and the HVAC. We have limited resources. We need to use those resources for the kids, not to make this building any better, because the kids hardly ever get to see this building. Some of them may never see this building. So, every time y'all make a decision like that, someone puts in a work order to rebuild the kitchen that doesn't need to be rebuilt, just say, hey, is this going to benefit the kids, or could we use that resource somewhere else? Same way with raises for the admins. Like I said, I haven't heard of these impoverished admins running around not being able to find jobs. I hear the horror stories from the teachers saying, we need more. These tradesmen need more, and we need more tradesmen. So, every time we go to make a decision to do a raise like that, we need to say, hey, have we filled these other pots first before we pour more into the admin? Please, use the resources. Use that $120 million for the kids, because that's why we're here. We're truly supposed to be here for the benefit of the kids. So all I'm asking is, when y'all go and make those decisions behind that closed door, go down the checklist. Does this directly impact the kids today? And if it doesn't, think about it. Now, if you've got all our problems fixed, then have at it. Make this the best building in the world. But until that day happens, I would ask that y'all use those resources for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Passetti. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to, let's see. Well, first of all, we don't have a student enrollment report. We've already discussed that. Dr. Gomez, do we have an update on academic progress tonight? I'm sorry. We're coming up to speak? All right, on something that's not on our agenda? If you're speaking about San Jacinto, that will come up later. Okay.
So, Mr. Parker, Dr. Detloff, and members of the board, the academic report this evening is also around career and technical education in connection with CTE month for the month of February, where we support student future readiness with our courses providing clear direction to pursue high-demand post-secondary opportunities, as you heard in the recognition. Through approved programs of study, students are offered a coherent sequence of courses and opportunities in industry-based certifications, which are referred to as IBCs. Technical dual credit, work-based learning, and participation in student learning organizations. Career technical education programs prepare students for further education and in-demand, high-skill, and high-wage careers in Texas. San Angelo ISD offers 18 pathways within 12 programs of study, including ag science, construction, digital media graphic design, 3D animation, education and training, early learning, counseling and mental health, culinary arts, accounting, business, entrepreneurship, marketing, healthcare science, law enforcement, welding, engineering, automotive technology, and collision repair. Within those pathways, we offer 79 courses, 42 of those being advanced levels for juniors and seniors. Approximately 75% of Central and Lakeview High School students are enrolled in CTE courses. Industry-based certifications, including Adobe, Fusion 360, which is design and engineering, Educational Aid 1, Child Development Associate, Community Health Worker, ServeSafe, which is a food safety online course for those wanting to go into the restaurant industry, Microsoft Office, Certified Nurse Assistant, Welding, ICAR, which is auto collision repair, and construction. We offer 48 technical dual credit courses through Howard College, and SAISD CTE teachers, some of which you saw up here this evening. They have been certified as adjunct faculty through Howard College to offer these courses to our students. Students in grades 9 through 12 have the opportunity to enroll in technical dual credit. Over the past 3 years, we have seen a 42% increase in technical dual credit enrollment. Our CTE students have work-based learning opportunities in partnership with local businesses right here in the San Angelo community. Some examples include our culinary arts students shadowing local chefs, our education students observing at our elementary campuses, our child development students working at our very own Tiny Texans Child Care Center, and our health science students participating in clinical rotations at Sagecrest. If you aren't aware of what Sagecrest is, it's a local care center that has cottage homes, like a nursing center here in town. We also offer career and technical education student leadership organizations, including DECA and BPA, FCCLA, a lot of acronyms again, Skills USA, FFA. Our CTE teachers serve as advisors to these students, preparing them for district, regional, state, and national competition. All of our organizations have currently qualified for state, and we look forward to having students attend the national competitions as well. We are proud of our innovative partnerships within our CTE programs and our local community. We've reported on several of these partnerships, but just as a reminder, we have the SME Education Foundation, which was made possible through the support, guidance, and funding from Ethicon, Principal LED, the City of San Angelo Development Corporation, and the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce, STEM 2D with Ethicon, the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce, Howard College, and Angelo State University, the Shannon Health Science Symposium Series, which was new this year for our CTE Health Science students, and our Fabricators Recruitment Day, which just began last May and will continue this April. We will close out with a video which shows you what happened last May and what will happen again this April, where our students at the end of last year were able to interview and be hired right here in the community for positions. So that's how we want to close this academic report, so you can see how our CTE students are preparing for the workforce, whatever that may be, to lift up their hopes and dreams.
this is the first of what will probably be many fabricator and student meetings. And the intention is for us to create a bond between the local manufacturers, mostly steel manufacturers, of which we have 8 in San Angelo, and the students that might be interested in careers in manufacturing. There are a lot of students out there that have a lot of aptitude for fabrication, manufacturing, and industrial services type careers. We think it's very effective for us to bring together the local manufacturers with the students who are definitely good candidates to work at one of these companies. And we find it very important to create those relationships between the students and the manufacturers, because that's really how all business starts in the first place, is relationship based.
I'm definitely excited about the kids that are coming in because there is a need for workers, trade people, whether it's mechanics, diesels, welding. So it's always good that the high schools are taking the initiative to make trades like this important.
We're very fond of the 4-year college curriculum path, of course, but what our community needs most right now are people who are in the trades, who are in the vocational, technical kind of educational stream. That's really where our need is in terms of employment, and the Chamber is very proactively involved with all the educational institutions to make sure that the linkages between industry and the educational institutions are made so that those graduates find homes in these particular fields.
I'm hoping for today to get quite a bit of interviews in with, like, getting to know them and getting a few offers today with those companies I'm talking to.
This is a way to invite students to become comfortable with understanding what these different companies do, what the career opportunities are, what the pay scales are, what the work entails, and what the career elevation is within each company. And this is a way to do it in a very comfortable environment where not only are they going to understand what these different companies that are here need, but also coach them on how they interact with manufacturers and corporations. Students are going to learn and practice an interview, and they're going to practice understanding what kinds of questions they need to be prepared to answer. And it also gives the manufacturers a look at the body of potential employees that's out there.
I would like to be offered a job with an oil field company as a welder so I can get that experience and get into the oil field industry and grow with some connections and some people I know so I can get further into it.
There's a lot of kids, there's 30 kids. Right now we don't even have 30 applicants in 6 months to go by. We get 30 kids to choose from or talk to, and there's a need for welders in Tom Green County. Everybody wants something done, so if you know how to do carpentry, you know how to do construction, weld, diesel mechanic, hands-on trades aren't going to go away. They're going to get more popular. They're going to be in more of a demand. So this is definitely important.
We want to make sure that if we have an ISD graduate that's not necessarily college-bound, that they can find productive work and a good living in our economy, because those jobs certainly exist. We make sure that they're positioned well for those with the right certifications, the right training, and the right opportunities.
So again, last May was our first Fabricators Day, and we will continue it again this April. More information will come.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. Anybody have any other questions?
I'll speak to Dr. Gomez. I want to tell you how important these CTE classes are. Being on the 2 high school campuses in the past, we talk about why and the why kids come to school and keeping them in school. Right there is the why for some. They came because they wanted to be a welder. As a math teacher, I'm sad to say, they weren't sometimes excited to come to my class, and that was fine, but they would talk about going to their classes where they were learning that. So that is the why behind some kids just coming to school. So I greatly support that, and thank you for what you're doing for those kids.
Well, I'd like to thank the team of people behind this, from our staff, from our teachers, from the leaders. Recently, you may have heard we're doing transitions from 5th grade to 6th grade, from 8th grade to 9th grade. A lot of planning has gone behind that. We've had a transition fair where all students going from 8th grade to 9th grade could see the CTE pathways. so they really knew what was out there, because that's really what it's about. We don't want students just signing up for courses based on their friends, but really about their interest, so they can make those course selections based around those interests. So it takes a lot of staff to do that. I don't want to leave anyone out, but they know who they are, from our counseling teams to our curriculum and instruction teams to our principals. And again, it always goes down to those teachers. That's why I said those CTE teachers have been so busy. They've been there having those conversations with students, and definitely we want parents to know so that they can help with those selections.
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Gomez? Thank you again, Doctor. All right. All right, Jason Henry, I turn it over to you.
Dr. Detloff, Mr. Parker, members of the board. Tonight we have with us Alan Wolf and RJ Lopez from Park Hill Smith & Cooper. They're here to discuss our sustainability plan. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alan Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. President Parker, Superintendent Detloff, members of the board, thank you for having us again this evening. And tonight we're here to summarize, thank you, Becky. We're here to summarize the elementary facility sustainability plan that we've been discussing over the past year. I wanted to just start with this process chart. Kind of lays out the comprehensive process that we started back in February and recently completed. We essentially started with a data collection phase, taking all of the information the district had put together previously and consolidating that into our field observation teams and distributing that. So we actually walked with engineers and architects, met with facility staff, principals, and walked through the facilities in an attempt to assess the existing facility conditions. We did that by comparing those to recognized industry standards, those from the Texas Education Agency and those of other industry standards like Americans with Disabilities Act and other national standards. We also took a look at capacity enrollment, if you recall, and we had a chance to analyze that trend over the last 10 years in the district for your elementary facilities. We put together costs to address the physical condition of the any deficiencies that we saw in the existing facilities, and also those related to modernization with those codes that I mentioned before. So over the summertime and first part of fall, we compiled that into a facility condition assessment report and reported multiple times to you guys about the results of our findings. And we did some trend analysis and peer benchmarking of other school districts so that you could get an idea of how other districts' facilities related, both in terms of size and condition. We developed, as per the direction we had from you all, a long-range facility sustainability plan or master plan for elementary sustainability. And we developed recommendations by looking at several different potentials. And tonight we've presented that over the fall, and we've had the opportunity to have lots of interaction and feedback, both from the campuses, at board workshops, board presentations, and in town halls that we've had over the fall and previously. And I know we'll have public comment again this evening, and it's so vital to us in the process, and we appreciate all the comments that we've received over the past few months from everybody, all the stakeholders in the district. So wanted to boil down this to just a few bullet points that are some factors that we had to consider as we went through our recommendations that we're presenting tonight. One is just the decreasing enrollment that the district's experienced over the last 10 years. As you can see from the slide, that's approximately 900 students over the past 10 years. And so when you look at that in light of, we did several capacity analysis of the available seats in the existing elementary schools, and that available capacity is significant. And as you look at the trend of enrollment over that time, it's definitely a factor that we needed to consider with our long-range sustainability plan. Increasing maintenance costs was another one. That stems directly from our walking the buildings and doing the facility condition assessment. there are 4 campuses, elementary campuses that are over 90 years old. And when you look at that in light of some of those campuses were slated for work in the 2018 bond, both attempts in 2018 had McGill, Fannin, Altaloma, and Austin slated to receive improvements. The bond in that case did not pass, and so those improvements were not made. Now, the 2008 bond did include work, if you go back that far, to both San Jacinto and Reagan Elementary. So as we considered the sustainability plan, we wanted to factor in that investment, significant investment the taxpayers had made back in 2008. We also looked at opportunities to help other programs like pre-K and early childhood education programs benefit from the potential of combined resources. And you'll see that here in later slides that Mr. Lopez will show. Back in September, we made the initial findings and recommendations to you all, and that is to consider near term reducing the number of elementary campuses from 17 to 14. In looking at other peer school districts, that would put you in line with the number of elementary campuses that they have. For example, Abilene has 13 elementary campuses, and they have more students. Long term, we also talked about continuing to look at the number of elementary campuses, and we did a lot of research and we spent a lot of time discussing what would be an ideal or optimum elementary campus size for San Angelo ISD. And as we went through that process, we came up with a range of 500 to 650 students, elementary school. And this, again, is consistent with other peer districts and with school districts that we see across the state. We shared a graphic previously showing some of those school districts and how they've also addressed the issue of enrollment and capacity. And San Angelo ISD is not unique in that situation where they have to consider the potential of consolidations, mergers, and repurposing of facilities. And so we've shared some examples with you of that. But we also didn't want to forget, as part of our master plan, the new homes and the opportunities for other special programs that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, specifically pre-kindergarten and early childhood special education programs. With that, I wanted to take the time to go through a little more detail for each of the campuses and potential reconfigurations as part of the sustainability plan in detail, and then we'll close with a summary slide. So, RJ.
President Parker, Dr. Deathloff, and the board, we appreciate you having us back out here. And I'm going to go over the technical aspects of the campus rezoning, starting with rezoning Altaloma to Fannin, and then closing Altaloma. We wanted to make sure to say that portables are not considered in these capacity studies. Also, student-to-teacher ratios will not exceed 22 to 1. So although these schools are combining, they will not be doubling up students in classrooms. There's still available space to keep those ratios lower. Something that came up quite a few times during the town halls was also the bus routes, and bus routes will be added to accommodate new zones to avoid hazardous areas, highways, and railroad tracks as part of the plan. You can see on the right there the current Fannin and Brown and current Altaloma zoning in light blue there, and then the new zone would be a combination of the Fannin and Altaloma zone. The current K through 5 enrollment at Fannin is 263 students. At Altaloma, the current K-5 students, 230. That would be a total combined enrollment of 493 students. The expanded capacity at Fannin would provide for 594 students which leaves 101 available seats for growth. And we've actually have calculations in a few slides that show how we get there, because we also provide for about a 10% capacity, to where we know you're not always going to have an exact 22 to 1. Some classes are have less, and some are going to have more, but accounted for that as well based on industry standards. The next rezone would be Austin to McGill, close Austin. Student, same thing here, student to teacher ratios will not exceed the 22 to 1. And then bus routes will be added to accommodate the new zones to avoid hazardous areas, highways, and railroad tracks. That came up, said quite a few times in the town halls, and those will be addressed. You can see on the right the current zone for Austin and McGill, being that pink area, and then on the bottom right, the new rezoned McGill. The current McGill K through 5 is 265 students. Current Austin kindergarten through 5th grade is 313 students, for a total combined student count of 578. The new kindergarten through 5th grade McGill capacity would be set at 634 students, which leaves room for growth by 56 students. This also considers the 10%. This is still actually only at 90% capacity. Next would be rezoning San Jacinto to Reagan and repurposing San Jacinto to pre-K and early childhood. Once again, we would not be exceeding ratios of 22 to 1. And the bus routes would be added to accommodate new zones to avoid hazardous areas, highways, and railroad tracks. So our calculation here, once again, 242 K through 5 students at Reagan, with an additional 272 K through 5 students at San Jacinto, for a total combined student population of 514 currently. That would, the current capacity at Reagan is actually 574 students based on the existing classrooms, and that leaves room for growth at 60 students. And then lastly would be rezoning San Jacinto to Reagan and repurposing San Jacinto to the pre-K early childhood campus. And this came up in multiple discussions about maximizing the inclusion opportunities for early childhood special education students, which are kind of scattered across campuses currently, and pulling them all together provides additional resources that they currently don't have access to for both the students and the teachers. It also allows a focus on the needs of all early learners. So right now, this is a push by or encouraged by the state as well, to try to combine some of these resources to better serve some of the early learners. We'll also note on this one that bus services will be provided for the early childhood special education and will be offered from the home campuses for pre-kindergarten. You can see on the left there that chart that shows the current enrollment that we went through. So made sure to go through and calculate and recalculate and plan for expansion. You can see the district-wide current pre-K and early childhood numbers listed by school there for a total current enrollment of 360 students. That would be at the new San Jacinto pre-K early childhood. Current facility can accommodate 435 students on the ground floor alone. The second floor was not considered when looking at San Jacinto as a pre-K and early childhood facility. So you can see that leaves room for growth for 75 students. And as I said earlier, we ran through these calculations, and it was pretty simple. It's count the classrooms, multiply that by 22 to 1, and then actually only take 90% of that. So although Fannin could technically hold 660 students at a 22 to 1 ratio, we're only planning for it to hold 594 students, because we know grade levels and certain classes vary depending on the year. So we're not trying to, even at this point, max out these schools or allow for a 4 or 5 year increase. And you can see there the enrollment was actually calculated from October 2022, which is the most recent official snapshot of the district. So even though we started in February of 2022, we've continued to track these numbers and stay up to date to make sure that best accommodate the current and future conditions of the district and students. And with that, we will go into the phasing.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. So I wanted to just briefly summarize. I know we've shared a lot of information over the last few months and even this evening, but the recommendation and what's in our final sustainability master plan is to merge kindergarten through fifth graders at San Jacinto Elementary to Reagan Elementary. That would be what we call a phase 1 implementation, and then merge the entire district pre-K and early childhood special education special needs program for 3 and 4-year-olds to San Jacinto. So that's what we list as a phase 1, a 2023 proposed plan. Phase 2 focuses on McGill and Fannin. In this case, expand McGill to merge Austin elementary students, kindergarten through 5th, and then repurpose or close Austin. And then the second campus there listed, expand Fannin to merge Altaloma, kindergarten through 5th grade students, and then repurpose or close Altaloma. And I just point out that there may be facilities and buildings on campus that could be reutilized and repurposed. So that's the reason for having the repurpose on the slide there. I just wanted to show you graphically what this plan looks like in effect. This is the current enrollment zones. See here. Shown this through the 2024-2025 if adopted per recommendation. You can see how those change. You can see the Fannin and Altaloma in one attendance zone there with Fannin, and also McGill, the change from Austin, McGill to McGill. And then you can see where Reagan and San Jacinto are the designation as Reagan Elementary School and San Jacinto Pre-K functional needs campus. One last thing I'd like to mention that was another factor we considered as part of our sustainability plan was the importance of the continuity of the feeder program and students being able to go to the same middle school and also the same high school. So just wanted to point out that the plan as proposed would maintain where students would currently go to middle school and where they would currently go to high school. That remains in effect. We looked at the distances between campuses and as part of these consolidation repurposing scenarios. That's been limited to approximately 2 miles. Like I said, in terms of the feeder patterns, we wanted to maintain the peer-to-peer relationships. So our final slide is our recommendation to adopt the sustainability plan as presented. And I'd close by just offering an opportunity if you have any questions that we can answer.
I know we've been through this several months, Board, but do you have any questions for our architects? All right, then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Detloff.
Dr. Detloff.
Mr. Parker, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to bring forward a recommendation this evening regarding our sustainability plan. Elementary schools are the lifeblood of our community. They are the beating heart of our school district. For many of us, our fondest memories are from school-age years and from our elementary days. As parents, we value our local schools, our classroom teachers, and our experiences the children had during their formative years. The parents and community members here this evening are deeply connected to their school. That is exactly why our boardroom is full, and why making a recommendation to repurpose or close school can be emotionally draining, it can gnaw at your soul, and certainly tug at your heartstrings. It's also why our leadership team and Board of Trustees decided to approach this challenging topic in a thoughtful and considerate way over the course of many months. We simply did not want to rush a decision. Over the last few months, through our public forums, I've made new acquaintances, met some incredible parents, and heard from constituents how valued their school is to them. That makes me extremely proud of our incredible principals and classroom teachers. It's also why our recommendation to merge or repurpose schools is so difficult. We have heard the presentation this evening from our architects and the rationale for why we are discussing the possibility of school mergers. I can assure you that there is not a board member or a staff member in this room that are eager to close schools. Rather, it is our responsibility as leaders to ensure that our district continue to thrive in the future amidst some real financial challenges and changes in our enrollment patterns. It is part of my role as superintendent to see that our school district is fiscally prudent and that we are financially able to provide our hardworking educators and families the resources we need to excel in the future. Whether that is the year 2025 or 2035, how are we positioning ourselves for the future? Let me quickly recap the why behind these proposed changes, and many of them you've just heard from Mr. Lopez and Mr. Wolf. Our student enrollment is approximately 900 students less in the last 10 years. As you know, school districts are funded on students that attend schools. Dr. Jeff Bright, our former CFO and Assistant Superintendent for Business Services for 17 years, has forecasted this fall that we need to brace for a fiscal cliff in 2 years when our ESSER monies run out. The good news is that thanks to our board's leadership, our district has been fiscally conservative and we have the most cash reserves in its history in SAISD. We have saved our money. These proposed school mergers will help ease the financial burden and will also be able to construct some new additions and classroom space as part of the plan. All the changes mentioned tonight in the first and second phase can be completed without going to the taxpayers for additional money. We can fund these changes from our district fund balance. In our town hall forums, there were great questions and concerns raised that made us go back to the table with our architects, talk with our team, study the concerns, and research solutions. Here's a recap of some of the questions, and again, you've heard many of these earlier tonight. I certainly respect that there may be differing opinions and even disagreement with our responses to these questions. We did, however, work to provide the most truthful and accurate responses based on our facility assessments and current state of enrollment loss. Here's some of the questions, and I'll state the question and then the response. A question: we enjoy the benefit of having all my children at one campus and close to home. And our response is that we have worked to have schools merge that were in close proximity to one another and within a 2-mile or less range from the current home campus. Why is there no backup plan is another question. The original Plan A, if you call it, you heard earlier tonight, was the bond opportunities. The phasing really started in the 08 and 09 bond opportunity, where the bonds passed in 08. And then in 18 and 19, we went back to help maintain our aging facilities. And in this plan, really, those plans were with Plan A. So we're kind of at a situation now where we are proposing this new plan, the sustainability plan, to help us in future years. However, admittedly, with our decline in enrollment, we still may have needed to combine campuses, but there were other campuses that were options if they had been worked on from an earlier bond. I'm not sure a bond would have prevented San Jacinto from repurposing, but it may have altered the closing of Austin or Altaloma if a bond had passed and these two campuses received upgrades. We had a comment submitted that parents feel helpless and unheard. I apologize that we have not heard your voice. The district hosted 7 town hall forums and 12 board meetings were held to solicit input. Comments were also solicited via our webpage and responded to as well. As taxpayers, why can't we each vote on this? School board trustees are elected by the voters and represent each district. As an elected official from their single-member district, each board member is authorized to act or vote for another, and in this case, it's their single-member district. Why are we only looking at predominantly lower-income schools to merge or close? And our response, after we've researched, is all San Angelo ISD elementary schools are determined to be Title I, all 17 of them, by the state and federal government, which means they all classify as low-income campuses. San Angelo only has one campus that is not classified as a Title I campus, and that is Central High School. Parents of children who walk to school are concerned about their children walking. I wholeheartedly agree with this statement. As you may know, Jason Henry, our Director of Purchasing, and I, we walked from Reagan Elementary to San Jacinto Elementary, and I am concerned about children walking under the loop and crossing the railroad track. We are working with our transportation team to provide bus transportation over these hazardous routes. Students walking under the overpass and the loop is still a concern if this proposal passes. Why are enrollment numbers at some of these campuses that are proposed, why are they proposed to change? Could it be several programs were taken away, such as ESL or bilingual or pre-K? And our response, after we've looked at the data, is that San Jacinto housed pre-K until the 2014-2015 school year. But due to low enrollment, the program was combined at Bradford Elementary. Pre-K is currently offered at Bel Air for San Jacinto students. We currently have 8 campuses in our district where pre-K is offered. 2 current students are enrolled in the San Jacinto bilingual program, and the ESL is offered at San Jacinto as well. San Jacinto was remodeled with the 08 bond, and it was promised that it would be used for the good of students. That was a question. San Jacinto, our response, had site improvements with drainage and parking improvements, as well as ADA for American with Disabilities Act. There were also updates to plumbing, electrical, interior lighting, and new additions added. This is a primary reason we want to continue using San Jacinto as our new flagship early childhood campus. The second floor could be utilized for district departments. We are home to the district's Teacher of the Year last year. We definitely want Ms. Hilda Davis, the Teacher of the Year, to continue positively impacting kids at whatever campus she teaches at. Ms. Davis also taught at Reagan along with San Jacinto during the first semester. And based on student enrollment, as many of us know, all employees may report to different campuses or departments on a year-to-year basis. Depends where the needs are. A question, can we just combine schools and build a new campus in a centralized location between 2 schools? I believe this would be a great decision for our students and staff. The concern is the cost of a new comprehensive elementary school. Now that cost is upwards around $30 million, and we would need to pass a bond election to do that which would result in a tax increase. A question, San Jacinto has enough drop-off and pickup lanes. How is Reagan any better than the lanes we currently have? And why is San Jacinto to Reagan and not the other way around? Reagan has additional on-site parking and drives that help parents picking up not have to utilize main streets. Reagan's building is larger than San Jacinto, almost 5,000 square feet, or really you could add 6 additional classrooms in that space. Most classrooms at elementary schools are between 700 and 800 square feet. San Jacinto has experienced a 40% reduction in student population over the last 10 years to an 11% reduction at Reagan over the same period of time. Reagan also has a larger site than San Jacinto to accommodate more students. We are concerned class sizes will increase and smaller sizes are better. As indicated earlier, class ratios will still be the same as a typical year because we are moving the teacher or teacher unit with the students if this proposal passes. And we want all of our second graders, an example would be all of our second graders at Austin Elementary, we want them to go together as a grade level to McGill Elementary so that they know their classmates and friends, and that would be the same, similar to every campus in the proposed merger. Will San Jacinto add an elevator if this becomes an early childhood campus? Currently, San Jacinto does have an elevator. It's located by the stairwell in the main hallway by the library. If this plan passes, we would also likely move again a district department to utilize the second floor at San Jacinto. And why San Jacinto is an early childhood center? San Jacinto recently received ADA upgrades. There's more opportunity for inclusion with pre-K students and an early childhood special ed program. Some of these additional employees that are there could be also housed under one roof, which would be helpful. Examples of this are speech therapist, occupational therapist, physical therapist, and having a large coalition of teachers that all teach the same content and grade level helps collaboration, lesson planning, and then working to meet those individual needs. Will all teachers and staff have a position and be employed next year? Absolutely. All teachers in good standing and that would be with us next year on a typical year, every single person will have a job with their same compensation. I want to thank our parents, community members, and staff for submitting these questions. We have studied the questions, researched our responses. I understand and respect that people may still disagree with our answers, yet we wanted to do our best at answering the questions posed. At this time, I will make a recommendation to our Board of Trustees. At the completion of the recommendation, Mr. Parker will ask for public comment on this specific agenda item before a vote is taken. So we'll make a recommendation. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Parker, and he will provide the procedures for public comment before a vote is taken. Mr. Parker, members of the board, the administration recommends in August of 2023, next school year, San Jacinto Elementary students will change campuses and combine with Reagan Elementary, located at 1600 Volney Street. The San Jacinto Elementary Attendance Zone would become part of the Reagan Elementary Attendance Zone. In August of 2023, next school year, we merged the entire SAISD pre-K program in early childhood, 3- and 4-year-old special education students, to San Jacinto Elementary School, located at 800 Spalding Street. San Jacinto would become the district's early childhood campus. In August of 2024, a year and a half away, this is the administration's recommendation. In August of 24, we recommend expanding McGill Elementary, located at 201 Millspaw Street, to house elementary students from Austin Elementary. We would close or repurpose Austin Elementary during the 24-25 school year. The Austin Elementary Attendance Zone would become part of the McGill Elementary Attendance Zone in 24-25. In August of 2024, a year and a half away, we recommend expanding Fannin Elementary, located at 702 Wilson Street, to house Altaloma Elementary students. We would close or repurpose Altaloma Elementary during the 24-25 school year. The Altaloma Elementary Attendance Zone would become part of the Fannin Elementary Attendance Zone in 24-25. At this time, I will turn it back over to Mr. Parker, our board president, for board discussion and public comment. Mr. Parker, I also have the recommendation from the administration that I just read. I have copies of that for you as well for your review. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Detloff. I think board, what we'll do, usually on a board item, we say, is there any board discussion? Then we take public comment. I think what we'll do tonight is take public comment, and then we will have board discussion, and then get a motion, all right? So, with that in mind, I want to make mention of this. There's several of you who had signed up to speak. So we have a 5-minute limit. I think, Mr. Gallegos, you have some little signs to hold up so somebody will know if you've got how much time you're using, because we're going to have to be a little more strict tonight on our 5-minute limit. And I would ask you again to be courteous to all the speakers and not interrupt anyone. And I would ask you to also to hold your applause so that we can get through this a little bit quicker. And then after we have public comment, we will have board discussion, see if anyone wants to make a motion, and then we will vote on this item. So there's no particular order. Usually I would call, I can call out everybody if everybody has their name on here if we want to do it that way. It doesn't have to be that way, but I will just, I've got several names here. If I call your name and you don't want to come up, that's fine. And then after I'm through, if there's someone that doesn't have their name here that wants to come up, you can come up also. So I'll start with Dewey Ponder. Now, when you come up, be sure that you introduce yourself for the record, because all this is being recorded, okay?
My name is Dewey Ponder. I'm a parent of San Angelo, and I got a couple of questions asked. Why is it we got to transfer to another school? Because my son's in special ed. He knows the counselor. He knows the speech therapy counselor. He goes to another school. He ain't gonna do nothing. He ain't gonna say nothing. He's gonna sit there. You know, why can't we get a school that put every special education student in one school? That way they can stay. You know, instead of having special ed students go to another school, get into another program. You know, and I'm saying, you know, that's my son. My son's right here. You know, he's in special ed. Nobody knows what it's like to go to another school and special ed student. I'm in special ed. I came from the school district. You know, why is that? That's my concern, because, you know, my son's, he's in special ed all of his life. You go to a new school, new teacher, new counselor, new principal, he ain't gonna say nothing. He won't say nothing at all. He got used to San Angelo. He's been there since first grade, first, second, third, fourth. Now all this is happening. That's not right. He's used to that school. We moved to that district for a reason, because he loves this school, and he wants to go to another school. That's not right. Because I'm pretty pissed off right now. It's not just yay, nay, or say. It's the parent. It's not the parents. It's not y'all. It's the kids. What they want to do. It's their choice. It's not parents. It's not school board members. I'm sorry for being mad, but I'm upset too. So that's the way. That's the reason I'm here. I'll speak up. I don't care. I'll speak my mind about that. I want that school to stay there. You know, there's plenty of daycare, child care services. You know, but when it comes to special ed, that's where I step in. So I don't want my son to go. If it has to be that way, I'll take my son out of this school and put him into TLCA, where everybody else is going. You know, I don't want that. I want it to stay right there in the district. If it comes to it, yeah, I'll take my son out of this school district. I don't mind, because this is the #1 district, you know, for helping students out, getting great services from the teachers, the counselors, the principals, you know. That's just my opinion. The parents here saying, yeah, we're here to support our school. We're not here to shut it down. We're not here to do it. It's easy for y'all to say. But look at how many San Angelo kids here. You ever ask them a question? You want the school to shut down or no? It's not up to us or y'all. It's up to our kids' education. That's the main question.
All right.
I don't care. I'm gonna walk out of this room here because I'm upset right now.
All right. Do you want an answer?
Yes.
All right. If you'll just, I know you're upset. This is one meeting that we can, and I do understand what you're saying, but understand this. One of the reasons that San Jacinto is being what it's going to be used for, that you should have an interest, that this would interest you, it is going to be just what you ask. It's going to be our special ed campus for pre-K 3, pre-K 4. All the kids in all of San Angelo will go there that are in special ed, okay? And then they will have the pre-K students, all pre-K students in San Angelo will be there, so that those special ed students can be included as they can be in those classes. Inclusion, which I assume your child now has inclusion. And when you go to Reagan, you will find out that Reagan is one of the best special ed campuses we have for children that have more needs perhaps than your child does, as does Lakeview, as does Central. So Reagan is one of our campuses that is known for taking care of the special ed kids. I would assume, I'm not the one that makes this decision, that the teachers that your child has for special ed will be going over to Reagan also. So I totally understand, because my wife took care of a full needs special needs child for 10 years in the SAI, and also helped with SAISD. So I understand your concerns for your child. You're to be commended, okay? I just want you to also understand that we're not wanting your child to drop through the cracks. That special ed is one of the main reasons that we're talking about repurposing San Jacinto, even though it may be too late to help your child. It would have been able to help your child at 3K and 4K. It's going to help other children there all across the district, like you said. Why can't we have a campus? But the reason we can't have one campus for all special ed kids all across the district is because the way that they view special ed now is they like to include those special ed children when possible in regular classes. So if we had all our special ed kids all on one campus and it wasn't anything but just special ed kids, there wouldn't be any regular classes to be including them in. Does that make sense? So I may not be, I'm not saying I know more about this than you, all right? But I would be happy to do this. I'd be happy to speak to you about it later, because we do have to get some other speakers going. I don't want you to be upset, even though I know I'm probably not doing a very good job to keep you from being upset. You will have to do what you think's best with your children, but I would hope that if you do get upset and you think about leaving, that you would really, if this vote goes the way that Dr. Detloff recommended, that you still check it out. All right, sir? All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Cardenas, Daniel Cardenas, who was a past board member way back in the day, right before I got on the board.
Thank you. Thank you for the record. I'm Daniel Cardenas. I've served on the city council for 12 years, 6 terms. I served on the school board for 1 term, and I'm very proud of my achievements while I served on the school board and the city council. I spoke for my constituents. When issues came up, I spoke for them. I defended their point of view. Integration is not bad, but integration is bad when you try to merge or bring together 2 minority schools And when I'm saying minority schools, I mean poor. Okay, I'm not talking about Hispanic, blacks. I'm talking about everyone across the board that's poor. They're not being represented here. Now, if you're talking about busing some of these children to one of the predominantly Anglo schools, I would be all for it. A great example of that is Port Concho, which I push strongly to be a gifted and talented school, to challenge our children. My daughter attends my granddaughter, attends Port Concho Elementary School. You know, and that's a great example of integration. But when you're merging two low performance elementary schools together, it doesn't make sense, because my child is not going to learn. Their children are not going to learn. They're not going to be challenged as they were challenged if they had parents. These parents can't demand to you. Their parents, their voice to you is mute. I'm telling you, because I've been there. It's not popular to speak out like I do. I get excited, I get emotional. I'm not mad, okay? But I get emotional. Dr. Detloff, many times you have told me, Mr. Cardenas, you call me more than my board members on issues with the school district. It's because I care. I've said that to you. And you know, I've accomplished a lot of things, even being out of office, because I care. You know, Dr. Detloff, a lot of kids were not eating lunch at some of the schools. And I told you, I don't want that food being thrown away. These are examples of when you don't have a voice on the school board. A lot of these people, I mean, they're the ones that suffer, you know. You know, there's many things that have been accomplished by the school board in the past that have satisfied my point of view, but this one is one of the worst that I'm experiencing. I would like to see more participation of our board members to speak out. And you know, I'm not going to tell you all the issues that I have before me, because I've discussed this with the DOJ, okay? And I think we have a case in that, on this deal here. You're not pulling with a rookie, okay? Believe me, I'm not a rookie at this. I forced the district to form single-member districts to put you there and to put you there. I fought for it. I fought for single-member districts to be installed in the city council. I fought for the meetings to be televised so people will see me at work, because of the way I talk many times, they would picture me as divisive. I'm not divisive. I'm emotional and I care. Teachers, take care of the teachers. A lot of the teachers are upset, but they don't have a voice. They can't say anything. You do what you want to do, whatever you please. But I'm going to read something real quick by one of the board members that stated this back in 2016. Quote and unquote, okay? Gerard Gallegos, District 6 representative on the board of San Angelo Independent School District, said he remembers his father complaining that no one cared about the district outcry. Predominantly minority schools were without representation. Before you take your vote today, do what's right, please. What's popular is not always right, but what's right is always. What's popular is not always right, but what's right, it's always popular. So please, postpone this. I don't want to go through any other action. I promise you, I'm not threatening you at all. But I've had discussion with the DOJ, and this is not right. Low performance schools, think about it. A lot of people don't want their students over here. And I'm sure some of your constituents tell you, just don't send them over here. I know that. My granddaughter is a part of the gifted talented program at Port Concho. She's very successful. But I want all the children to have that opportunity. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. I do want to let you know, since I've been on the board 18 years, things have, and that you were on it before, but just so you know, nearly 65% of our whole district is low socioeconomic, and over 60% is now Hispanic. So our district is a majority district as compared to what it was in 2004, 2005. So there's a lot of differences now, and that's the things you're saying we took into account with Lamar, and you know that. But the things you say, the reason these 6 campuses that have been mentioned here, that makes it a little different, that we're not busing them all over town, is that the campuses that are involved here are 6 of the 7 smallest districts. The smallest campuses are the ones that have been losing enrollment. That doesn't have anything to do with race or...
I'm talking poor.
I just said 65% of our students, overall, the whole district, is low socioeconomic. That's poor.
Okay.
So 65%, not just these campuses,
sure.
65% total. So our whole district is known, San Angelo statewide is known as a poor school district. Okay, we have some pockets that are not poor, but the majority of our campuses by far are low socioeconomic. Only one, as Dr. Detloff said, is not a majority low socioeconomic, and that's Central. Every other campus is low socioeconomic and qualifies for federal funds on the lunch program. So I'm not arguing with you. I just was going to point that out, that things have changed dramatically.
Yes, sir. There's other
in the last 23 years with our socioeconomics and our racial percentages.
Yes, sir.
So
there's other cities very similar to San Angelo. The demographics very similar to San Angelo that have gone through this. The DOJ got involved with it, and there was a change in it. I don't have a problem with integration. I don't have a problem with some of these kids from Bonham to being bused to Reagan. I don't have a problem with some of these kids being bused from Crockett to San Jacinto.
But
I don't have a problem with that.
We're not trying to bus kids across town. We're just trying to minimize, and I understand you don't like that. We're trying to minimize the distance that families have to go when we're trying to do these consolidations.
The deal is, whoever speaks the loudest is the one that gets the wheel greased. You know, there's no doctors that live over here. There's no big businessmen that live over here. They can't demand the best resources. But Port Concho being in my district, a poor district, okay? I'm not well off. You know that, man. I'm not well off, okay? I live in the Port Concho district. We got the best resources at Port Concho. Why? Because kids go there, businessmen, kids go there, and Port Concho and my granddaughter benefited from it. Think about it before you vote. Thank you so much. God bless you all. I don't need no more explanations.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Appreciate it.
I just want to take a point to make just point of clarity. As far as state accountabilities go, San Jacinto and Reagan are both B ratings, which is actually, in our district, our overall rating is a B. And then the schools that we actually are talking about closing, Austin and Alta Loma, they would be going to higher performing schools. So just for your clarity.
Mr. Parker, can I speak real fast? The word, the best resources hits my heart, because as a teacher, I think the best resource is the teacher in the classroom. That is the best resource. When I sent my girls to school, I wanted them to have the best teacher, the teacher that would teach them, whether it be in this classroom or this classroom. So for me, the bottom line is, and we're going to be merging these teachers, they're going to have a community that they can work together in, to PLC in, to work together to reach the needs of all the kids. So when we talk about resources, I think we really need to focus on what is the purpose of a child in the classroom. It's to learn. And they're going to learn when they have the best resource, the best teacher. That's where learning, education, growth comes from.
Any other board comment? All right. Next is Angie Pigeon and Christy Diego.
Good evening, SAISD School Board trustees. We first would like to thank you for volunteering your time to serve and to make these important decisions for our school district. One of each of us, I'm Angie Pigeon, this is Christy Diego, has been to every single sustainability plan meeting. Many comments at every school were positive, no matter if they were about the administrators, the teachers, the paraprofessionals. Every single person on every campus is valued. It warmed our hearts as we heard parent after parent talk about how they loved their school. Listening to all of the concerns, some complaints, what dominated was how people felt about their specific school. We both started thinking everyone loves their school, but they weren't talking about a building. They were talking about the people. It was the people that they don't want to lose.
We kept hearing teachers, or principals, or assistant principals, or secretaries, and how they took care of all their students. The predominant message from the parents was they don't want to lose the connection to the people. We as educators who work with the people in these buildings, we feel this is a testimony to the teachers and staff in SAISD. The students and parents love their teachers, and the teachers love their leaders. And good news, those people will still be in the SAISD all over the district. Like our slogan says, our people truly do make a difference. Parents that are impacted by this decision can rest assured that the educators in SAISD will continue to be the reason why your child loves school.
Ultimately, like Ms. Duncan said, it's about the teaching that can happen when our funding is used to further the education of each child and not wasted on aging facilities and thrown away because we're trying in vain to support 2 schools when we only have attendance to fill 1. There's a slide in the presentation that we saw that talks about when schools are combined, teachers will be able to work together more because there will be multiple teachers at the same grade level. This does not necessarily mean more kids in a single classroom. It could even mean the opposite. Often in our curriculum and instruction world, we look at John Hattie's research, something called collective teacher efficacy. Let me define that. Collective efficacy refers to the shared belief that through their collective actions, educators can influence student outcomes and increase achievement for all students. When teachers are working together for their students, it makes 3 times as much impact on a child's education as a smaller class size does. We already know we have amazing people, and giving them the opportunity to collaborate along with support from our curriculum and instruction department will help our students achieve even more.
So back to the meetings that we both attended. We did hear that there are issues with some of the buildings, the aging and the facilities. But that's not what we heard as much. We heard more that they loved the people, and those people are in every school in SAISD.
We know change is hard, and our heart goes out to you. I went to San Jacinto. It's nostalgic. While we know it's hard, We are hopeful, and we trust in this process that SAISD students can have the education they deserve now and for decades to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Pigeon and Ms. Diego. Next, Rachel Perez.
Hello, my name is Rachel Perez, and my husband and I are parent of an Altaloma first grader. We live 2 blocks from Altaloma and have for over 6 years now. We are extremely invested in keeping Altaloma open and operating as it currently is. I do not attend school board meetings nor usually keep up with them. Honestly, I trust everyone is doing the best for our staff and our students. I am sad to say I feel let down and somewhat blindsided by the announcement made back in October. I've attended the Altaloma as well as the fan and town halls and voiced some of my concerns, actually many of them, and objections while there. I noticed slight differences in the 2 meetings, but one thing stayed the same. Regardless of valid points and concerns made, everything basically fell on deaf ears with essentially no plans to do anything but proceed with the outline plan. And unfortunately, it's kind of what I'm hearing tonight as well. You know, had we known back in 2008 and back in 2018, my child graduated, my older son. I didn't know I would need to even be involved in this now. So had we known that this is Plan B, maybe a lot of things would have happened differently back in 2018, and bonds could have been passed had we known this was going to be the outcome of those bonds not getting passed back then. Essentially, no options seem to be allowed or even considered. Everything that will be a negative impact and even a hardship for our community means nothing. This plan, created by an outside firm that does not even really know San Angelo, is going to devastate us. What we appreciate and value about our current structure is the fact that we have these smaller schools. Less is more. Less stress on our teachers, less stress on our students, less kids in the classroom, more attention, more supervision, happier people. Our children, now more than ever, need to keep this instead of being forced into more crowding and less supervised campuses. I know you're saying it still won't be overcrowded, however, I don't see that. From the 3rd day of school at Altaloma last year when my son started kindergarten, the staff already knew his name, as they did with every student. At a time when there is a nationwide teacher shortage, please do not take the risk of losing decades of talented and caring faculty. There is staff already ready to leave this if this plan takes place. Nobody should be made to feel displaced or orphaned by something nobody supports, nobody being the people involved that it's going to impact us and our kids and our lives. We've been told everyone will have a position and place by skill set and student need. I believe that. However, I'm not seeing how this works really to be favorable for everyone. How many principals, vice principals, PE, music, librarians, skills lab people can be kept in the same roles? The work and home life balance needs to be considered. Many Altaloma staff have been there for decades. A point made about teacher collaboration is invalid. When they need to collaborate with peers, living in the modern age that we do, they can virtually meet. Cisco, WebEx, and even Teams are amazing tools, and I'm sure they can get a hold of them. Another point made for closing Altaloma being tied to repair costs. Well, they're not 100% truthful. The plumbing issues are exaggerated and the actual cost is not based on any actual bids, but from some source of estimated averages. Traffic concerns on Garfield are also being overstated, as Edmond and 29th Street are far more concerning since they have 24/7 traffic that includes industrial traffic. Same goes for Sherwood Way and McGill campuses. Everything boils down to money, but can anyone suggesting this plan consider the hardships for those that this impacts? Head Start and special needs learning all at one campus is not as practical as they're wanting it to sound. No offense to anyone, please. But usually lower income households are the ones that qualify for pre-K. How is that good for someone that may live across town from San Jacinto? As a homeowner for the last 19 plus years paying school taxes, I'd much rather put it to a vote for a bond to fix our aged elementary schools than the Coliseum. We need to invest in keeping our younger kids and staff where they are since everyone is happy. The Coliseum has other ways to generate revenue for its expansion. Please consider not redrawing the district lines and coming up with a Plan B, which I guess Plan C now, not involving these closures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Brash. Erica Gonzalez.
Hi guys, I'm not Erica Gonzalez, I'm Carla Cardenas, but she asked me to read this for her. You know, some people are a little bit nervous and get emotional, so on behalf of Erica, I'll read her statement. Dear San Angelo School Board members, first I would like to thank you for allowing me this time to share my thoughts and concerns about the school merger. More specifically, San Jacinto Elementary. I personally have 5 children from our immediate family, including my own daughter, who currently attends. So of course, any discussion and decision made will have a tremendous impact on our family. I tried to look at this issue from both sides. The economic impact or savings for SASD is not a significant reason for school closures or mergers after trying to research. After researching, I found that SASD has an economically sound outlook. As for savings, per campus would be minimal. So then we look at the enrollment numbers. I know that SASD board members have looked at the numbers for the past 10 years for enrollment, but over the past 10 years, we have seen unprecedented events such as COVID, the pandemic, oil field booms and closures, just to name a few. So how can we have an accurate forecast of future enrollments if this is actually just the first year that many students have returned to a normal academic school year? We know with COVID, many families in our community have suffered the lifelong consequences and continue to this day to suffer as a community. San Jacinto has a unique location within the SASD community. We're only about a mile from the largest medical center, the only one now, Shannon, numerous surrounding counties, and if you include the brand new $36 million cancer center, which is approximately 1 mile from the school. How is it that our school should be scheduled for closure when our neighborhoods are filled with service workers from the hospital, as well as the city, the county, the police department, fire department? Neighborhoods like ours are the backbone of this city, of the community and county. Our children deserve to have a school in their community in which they feel safe and secure. They are building lifelong friendships, and this is actually the base of their academic, emotional, and social education. Referring to elementary students. We know that not a lot of research has been done on the academic and emotional and social effects that this will have on displaced students and the accepting campuses and students, but we do know that there are some adverse effects, such as bringing a child from a 300 student campus to larger, 600 or more. If San Jacinto and Reagan are merged, that would make the campus 600 students. Although I know that this is a growing trend in Texas to merge the schools, although I know that's a trending. So, think for a minute, what an elementary campus of 500 to 600 students looks like. Can you imagine your kindergartner being lost in the shuffle, your first or second grader not receiving the full attention or assistance they need? This will also raise questions of how large will the classes be. I know that you put up a slide now that says 1 to 22. I guess that was just changed up, because it wasn't like that for the 7 town hall meetings that I was at also, all 7 of them. There's a lot of different things, but I do want to say, how many politicians, how many businessmen, how many prominent people have you seen or heard stand in front of everybody and say what they're going to do? And they don't come through with it. So anything can be said tonight, and will it happen? We'll see. At this point, Reagan campus is not prepared to receive an influx of almost 300 students. This will almost double their current enrollment. What needs to be done for upgrade and preparation? What is the cost? Elementary schools are more than just learning facilities. These are extensions of their families, and their homes and children come into school to familiar faces, a familiar place that they know what to expect, and they know what is expected of them. Their teachers and support staff know and care for our children, and our children depend on this secure and familiar space. Now let's talk about transportation. Reagan and San Jacinto seem to have similar pickup and drop-off methods. I personally have sat outside both of the schools and watched the pickup times. Both schools are efficient and pickup will run smoothly. At this time, I do not see any issues with dropping off or picking up, but imagine how that will change if the schools are merged. The superintendent himself experienced walking through our neighborhood. We would need more bus routes created, more buses and drivers. Not all families have the option of being able to drive their children to school. Some will definitely be walking. In conclusion, I know and understand that you as school board members work hard for our communities and do it out of the kindness of your hearts. You are parents and you are grandparents, and you understand how much we care for our children and want the best for them. Our children look to us as we look to you for the best possible outcome for our children's education. I myself may not have had a higher education, but common sense is common sense. You can't buy that. It's not difficult to see the hardship and challenges the school closures pose on San Jacinto families and staff. Our children deserve a safe and secure academic environment where they can easily access without creating more challenges and barriers. This family pleads with you, as well as 95% of the people that are in this room from San Jacinto, to not vote for the closure of San Jacinto and reconsider other options and alternatives to closing our school. Again, I thank you for your time and effort for our children and our families. The saying here is to make every dream possible, so I ask you to please not break our children's dreams. Sincerely, Erica Gonzalez.
Thank you, Erica Gonzalez through Ms. Cardenas. All right, next is, I may not be able to say this right. Shelley, is it Thusan? Thusan, okay.
My name is Shelley Fuson. I've had 4 kids go to San Jacinto. 3 of those babies graduated. This last one, I wanted to get there. But y'all want to close it? No. My child suffers from ADHD and social anxiety disorder. Are y'all going to be the ones there when she has a mental breakdown and nobody can solve that? No. Who's the school going to call? Me. I have to leave work. Are y'all? No. She gets the help she needs from the amazing principals, teachers, counselors, everybody she has over there. We haven't had but one meltdown since the time she started kindergarten. She is a 3rd grader, a very bright 3rd grader. She's come far. When she started kindergarten, she didn't know her ABCs. It took counselors and teachers to work with her, and she's a very bright student. A change for her is like taking somebody out at the knee. She doesn't do good with change. That's why we stayed where we're at. We technically live in Bradford District, but I send my daughter over there because she has had the utmost help from that school district. And to change that, it's like telling her, we don't care about you. We don't care about your feelings. We don't care if you have a mental breakdown in the middle class because nobody wants to help you. So take that into consideration for students like for my daughter, who is the brightest child, who is a normal child, but suffers from anxiety disorder and anything else that we don't know about just yet. But this little girl, it devastated her when she found out she was going to have to go to a different school. You know what it's like trying to comfort a 9-year-old at 9 o'clock at night because she has to move schools? No mother wants to deal with that. But I don't see y'all losing sleep over it. So y'all just take that into consideration when wanting to close a school. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Thusen. Mr. Woodworth? Oh, there you are. Pleasure to meet you. We talked on the phone. I got you.
Warren Woodworth. My daughter is a 2nd grader at San Jacinto. I also had a son that went through San Jacinto. I'm here tonight to ask this board as the public school in San Angelo and the public representatives of this community to represent the people that you represent, not Mr. Detloff, not this architecture firm that has no ties to our city. There's been so many mistruths spoken tonight already. Mr. Condoni has already brought up that we're not targeting the poor schools in the districts in this town. Mr. Parker, your argument was weak and it avoided exactly what is going on. You look at the schools being shut down in this town. You look at Day, Rio Vista, Sam Houston, Edison, Blackshear. I mean, all but exception was it Travis. You had one neighborhood that had 3 schools in it. I mean, we're not talking about shutting down schools in the Bluffs. We're not just talking about shutting down schools in Santa Rita. We're not talking about the Country Club or Bentwood. No, we're talking about people who are struggling the hardest already. When you say that these schools are less than 2.1, I mean, and to say that all of our schools are Title I, can someone bring up a map of the school district and show me how Lamar is drawn and tell me that's not gerrymandering? So that you got schools on X, Y, and Z, the former Rio Vista and Sam Houston being shipped clear across town to Lamar, a known wealthy neighborhood. That is the only reason it's Title I. If it wasn't for all those kids, it would not be Title I. And then to say that these school districts are within 2 miles, yeah, maybe portions of them. Vast majority, every one of these kids are going to have to be bused, especially between Austin and San Jacinto. We have major things in our way that cannot get us across those things. I mean, I have a daughter right now, an older daughter that goes to Lone Star. She takes a bus an hour each way every single day. She leaves an hour before school and doesn't get home till after 5 o'clock. That's 10 hours a week that we don't get to spend, or 43 hours a month, 520 hours a year that we cannot spend with her. How many hundreds and hundreds of more students are you going to be doing that to? Losing my trot here. And to say that these classrooms are going to be 22 to 1, that is not true. Our classrooms now are 14 to 1. This is going to make us the highest in this district. Our kids are going to be shoved into these schools. They are maxing these schools out, and there's going to be disconnects. Bigger schools do not make better connections. Bigger schools divide us. We don't know our principal. We don't know our counselors. We do at the schools we go to now. You cram all of us into this one little campuses, we lose all that. But I'm disappointed. You do represent us, not Mr. Detloff, not the Board of Trustees, not this architectural firm. They're here to make money. They're for profit. Listen to us. Listen to the people in this room, the people that voted you into office. You represent us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodworth. Dana Feltz.
Good evening. My name is Dana Feltz. I currently serve as the principal of Fannin Elementary. As an educator of 19 years, I understand change is difficult, even in times when change is necessary. I do fully believe in providing the very best for our students, our families, and our staff. I believe the vote in favor of this proposal provides better services to both school communities for Altaloma and Fannin, and makes economic sense. With the consolidation of the 2 campuses, I personally welcome the Altaloma students, families, and staff. This change would not be one school joining another school. It would be the creation of a brand new school community. The creation would be done jointly with the stakeholders from both existing campuses. I'm here to serve and assist in any way possible. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Phelps. Myra Arredondo? Oh, there you are. Now's your time.
Members of the school board. Last week we surveyed 100 San Jacinto parents during pickup carpool line, and we asked if this sustainability was to be voted on, how many would still attend Reagan, and how many would not or would go seek a different school or put in a transfer for a different school for their child. And we surveyed 100 parents. Out of those 100, was 94 that said that they would be putting in a transfer to another school, or homeschooling, or just finding a different place. One that was mentioned was TLCA. So with that being said, these were parents that were in cars, so that was not including those that walk or take the bus. All said that they will be trying to find another avenue for their child's education, whether it be putting in a transfer to another elementary school nearby or completely moving out from SAISD. Many are facing transportation issues or have concerns with attending Reagan Elementary. Many are happy with San Jacinto and what it provides for their family and for their children. It's convenience, and it's hope, and it's family. Some will say it's not the building that provides these things, it's the location, and it's the type of people inside the building. It's the children inside that value the smallest things wholeheartedly and appreciate what they have. Please don't take away what San Jacinto means to all of us in attendance today. We also started an online petition and have gathered 600 signatures in only the last few days in support of keeping San Jacinto Elementary as it is and what it is. We have asked continuously for a plan B on this current situation and have not received it on this current situation. At the very least, we are here today to call for rezoning of our district boundaries. I had submitted an email to Dr. Detloff, just kind of showing a little bit of how it could be rezoned to make Reagan the school for pre-K and special ed, and to divide Reagan into 3 of the other elementary schools. If we do rezone the boundaries of our district, this will increase our attendance. We want our school to be recognized and offer special programs, just like many other schools that people are leaving our school for. For example, the PLCA, we've heard some even saying they'd take them to Very Best, to Wall, to Paint Rock, and some have even decided that they are going to homeschool their kids. If our numbers have dropped, let's take a moment and think, where have our students gone? And I believe that that's where they have gone. They have gone to those other schools where they're either being homeschooled. We are asking for fairness and equality across the board. We are asking for our representatives to represent us to the fullest today. Please hear our voices. Please be our voices.
Thank you, Ms. Arredondo. Chelsea Cardenas? There you are.
Hello, I'm a little nervous. I don't do very well with public speaking at all, but I'm going to try my best. Okay. I first would like to thank Carla Cardenas for being a voice for our neighborhood and community when we couldn't get our own when we couldn't get our own district representative to respond or support us. Carla was there for us, so again, thank you. I was born and raised in San Angelo. I went to San Jacinto from 1st to 6th grade. My mom went to San Jacinto as a child, and my children also go to San Jacinto. My oldest, who is 16, went there. I have a daughter who is in 5th grade and a 7-year-old son who is on the spectrum and is in the functional academic classroom. Next year, I will have a daughter going into kinder. This sustainability plan is all about money and truly not in the best interest of our kids. Stop using our kids' best interest as a way for SAISD to save money. Figure out a plan B, or I guess now a plan C, to leave our school and students the way it is and find another way to save money. I know each of you board members are smart. Figure out a different plan. One of the cons that I noticed that just stuck out to me was the teacher parking lot across the street. That parking lot has been there since I was a kid. Since when did adults forget to use a crosswalk like every other person? I witness it all the time while dropping off my kids. These adults just cutting across the street, not using the crosswalk with crossing guards there to stop the traffic. Really, they're creating the problem. So that shouldn't even be a con that was listed on the slide. As parents, I ask each of you to put yourself in our shoes. If these were your children, how would you feel? How would you feel if this was affecting you directly? Do that, please, see how it would affect you and just do what's best for our kids and not the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cardenas. Johnny Hernandez?
How are y'all doing? My name's Johnny Hernandez. I don't have my kids in the school district, but what I do have are my nieces, nephew. Mr. Deathlock, I heard you've talked several meetings about how you've made the walk under the underpasses and what goes on over there. I'm a grown man, I'm a large man. I could make the walk too. That's a lot different than children making that walk. Keep bringing it up, but you don't have a solution. Got a big problem with that. Number two, y'all have a company do the assessment to close schools and move schools, but it's instead of a third party doing it. They're going to benefit from whatever decision they make. So we put graphs up here talking about 22 to 1, but there should be no more than 22 in the state of Texas. While they're doing their graphs, trying to convince everybody this is a good thing, you got somebody here contradicting himself saying, but we know it could be more than 22, it could be less than 22. That just tells me the graphs mean nothing other than to benefit their narrative. We've also got a big problem with that. Everybody talks about the teachers. Yes, our teachers are very important. But what y'all seem to forget, so are the taxpayers and the people that elect y'all's positions. We're very important also. This isn't going to end with y'all's vote. There'll be a lot of people that know how many students are in these classes. Their kids will report it to the parents. We will report it to the TEA. The TEA, we're going to make sure, is all over every one of y'all, knowing everything y'all do. And these kids, when they're walking under these underpasses, if one child gets hurt, y'all will be held accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Now, that's all I have on this. Okay, just a second. Who else raised their hand? Oh, Mr. Bassetti, I did have your name, but I thought that was because you had spoken earlier. All right. And who else had their hand up? All right. Go ahead, Ms. Cardenas. Introduce yourself.
Carla Cardenas. All right. So throughout the town hall meetings, none of the cons have been listed. I'm here to publicly speak on just a few. I want to recap from last meeting when I made a statement. Transportation's a big deal for a lot of these families. You're asking the children to walk through these dangerous environments once again, that Dr. Detloff himself said he wouldn't want anyone walking through. Kids will be passing busy main streets and overpasses. I know you said you're going to provide different bus routes, but they're still going to walk. There's still going to be kids walking. So at the end of this, I'd like some updates and feedback on that. Many students will find it difficult to adapt to new environments, to new teachers, the administrators, the buildings, social gatherings, even if the environment is better than the one that they are leaving to. But that's not the case here. In order for school closures to have a positive effect on its current students, the new school they attend must not only be better, but better by a large enough margin to overcome the negative effect of the transition. Simply shuffling students to another low-performing school is not just ineffective, but can and will cause harm, and it's just not right. Laws have been passed, and SAISD should be following them. It's apparent that this plan has not been thoughtfully processed and with our students' best interests in mind. If you're going to inconvenience us and distract our kids, then they should end up in a substantially higher quality school. Keep in mind that closing a school will still impose costs and will cause hardships for at least some of our current students. We will not be fooled into thinking that closing our school is a solution to all of your financial problems. You're going to tell us that you're saving money by doing this, but in reality, you're still going to incur new financial increases, such as transportation costs. I saw you drop over $1 million on a handful of buses at the last meeting. You will be transporting more students with this plan, and not just at SAISD's cost, but at the students and at the families' cost as well. How long will these elementary students have to be on the bus day after day, or even worse, waiting for the bus each and every day? I've seen kids, just babies, with no jackets, enduring the rain and cold, no protection, no safe bus stop area, no covering, just there, standing there at the corner waiting in the dark. What's up with that? Why hasn't SAISD provided safer bus stops for those kids? We are paying for our schools, and year after year, our taxes are increasing. But SAISD still has a major financial issue. There's a bigger problem here. What's the truth? I did notice that the public information that was released from last school year, Reagan is operating at higher costs than San Jacinto, the district, and the state as a whole. So why the change for us to move to Reagan? Doesn't make sense. We have been given the reason of, well, the parking is safer. How is the parking safer? Who are the ones parking there? The staff? Our kids aren't parking their cars. We have 3 different parking spaces for staff with a significantly wider drop-off lane. San Jacinto's drop-off lane is 65 feet in front of the school. Reagan's is 41 feet. Reagan has tried to request to make that area a one-way traffic zone in front of the school due to the congestion they face at the pickup and the dangers that the parents are making it one way on their own. But the city keeps denying it. They will not make it a one-way. It's small, it's congested, and with this plan, it's going to be even worse. Teachers invited me to come and video the after-school pickup so I could present it to you all. This plan should cut costs and save money. My school will still be costing money because the plan is to use it as a pre-K and special needs location, all of which Reagan Elementary already is. Why are you willing to disrupt what the school has established already? What Reagan has established? We are here today to fight for our communities. We have 2 representatives between San Jacinto and Reagan on the stand today. We entrust in you, and we voted you to be our voice, our advocate. Stand up for us. One duty of a school board member is to attend meetings and actively participate. On average, there was 1 to 2 members between the 6 in-person town hall meetings. But you all get to make the vote tonight? How is that okay? How are you okay with making that vote when you didn't even attend 1 town hall meeting? That's not right that you guys get to make it. I can point out the ones who were there, but I don't have to do that. You know if you were there to hear public comments. That's why people think you came in today and every day already knowing what you're going to decide on. You're just taking time to hear us and satisfy us, but you already know in your heart what you're going to do. I don't believe that, or else I wouldn't be taking my time up here to look each and one of you in the eyes and tell you what I feel from my heart. We gathered over 600 signatures in days, people that are supporting us. We surveyed the 100 parents, and almost all of them are looking for other avenues, like Myra said. Does that not bother you? With all due respect, Mr. Parker, I reached out to my representative. She didn't contact me, but rather you did on behalf of her. So what is the purpose of my representative if she's not going to contact me? I wanted to fact check before I came in today. And I won't even present those facts because I don't know if they're true or not. Many teachers have reached out to me anonymously voicing their concerns. They feel SAISD has neglected their school's maintenance and neglected them as a whole. One of the major concerns is, will there really be room for all of us, for the teachers to have a job somewhere? Or will they be placed to serve as long-term substitutes or help with small administrative tasks? Or even worse, just be let go. They're worried. Apparently, meetings were held between the campuses that are at risk, and it came across almost as blackmail to them, where if they didn't support this plan, they wouldn't be receiving raises. You and I both know this cannot be the only way to provide raises to the most influential people in our kids' lives. You are not only going to affect our kids and families, you're going to change our entire community and disrupt decades of community building. SAISD said it best just months ago. San Jacinto is more than a staple in our neighborhood, it's a legacy. You're making a long-term decision during a very crucial time. We're just now trying to get through the pandemic. COVID changed the way people see things. Some took their students completely out of the school system. Now people won't even send their kids to school when they're just even a little sick. We shelter them and keep them home all because of this pandemic. Give us time to get back on track because people are still struggling mentally. The schools make money based on our kids' enrollment and daily attendance. It's a struggle across the country right now. There are schools with incentives that encourage the kids to get to school daily and have activities, programs, groups, and different events for them to look forward to. San Jacinto needs that. We have seen low-performing schools such as Fort Concho make a 360-degree turnaround. They offer many programs and incentives, and we have kids from across town coming to them because of that. I'd like the school board members today who do vote in favor of this plan to be able, each one of them, to speak up and back up the decision today with facts and proven data. It's only fair to us. This is a big decision you're going to be making, and all of our kids' future is in your hands. Please don't shortchange our community, as it is already over and over again. We are always overlooked and underserved. There's 2 members on the board that can serve us today. Stick up for us. You know what we go through. You guys have been there. It's not going to change. You are my voice today. It doesn't matter if the other ones vote in favor. I need you too to please back us up. The mothers on the stage today, you know what I'm feeling. You know what we're going to go through. You know what we struggle every day to get our kids to school. Please help us. San Jacinto does not need to be in this plan. We're different, and that's why we're all fighting for San Jacinto. It's different than the other schools that you guys are presenting. You guys can spend so much money to change Lee Middle School to Lone Star, and that's a totally different subject. But come on, man. You're going to spend money on that, but we're ready to shut down schools from elementary kids, where this is the most impactful that they are. This is important. Please don't take away my school. Please listen, and I hope, even if you came in here, they told you to vote one way or whatever it is that everybody's thinking. Come on, stand for something. Everybody in here that wanted to not come today, or that didn't come today, or that automatically said, oh, they already decided. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're here. They heard us. We're speaking. And it doesn't stop here, guys. There's always going to be problems in our community. But they're never going to change if we don't speak up. Just like that saying, man, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. I ain't falling for nothing today.
Ms. Cardenas, you said something. I'm going to refer. I texted you and asked what would be a good time to call you. You said between 5 and 5:30. I called you.
That's correct. And I thank you for the phone call
I called you,
back.
and you thanked me, and so you said you didn't have time to talk. You said, can I call you Friday morning? I said, yes. I said, it's probably best for me between 10:30 and 12, but if that's not good for you, call me another time. I told you that I had no problem with you talking to Ms. Arroyo. I just said, if you're after facts and information, that's what you said you wanted, that those things usually go through the board president, so you don't get 7 different answers on what the facts are, and that's what you said you wanted. The same thing happened with Mr. Woodworth, and you can ask him. No, just a second. You asked me, you called, I talked to you, you got your facts, and you said, and you still said, I'd like to talk to Ms. Arroyo. I said, I will make sure she calls you, but I said she's going to be going out of town, and she may, and I don't know when she's going out, she'll be back by Sunday. And so, well, good. What I'm saying is, you asked about talking to her, because you said, I'd like to talk to her, and I said, I will make sure she calls you. That's all I'm saying. You and I talked, and you got the facts, and that's what happened. Is that truth, what happened?
Why aren't they reaching them directly?
Well, because we have a board rule that says when board members are contacted, they're to refer the calls or the emails to the board president or to the superintendent.
Sir.
And not, Mr. Cardenas, listen.
With
What
all
that-
due respect, sir, you told me that it wasn't that y'all just
No, I
made the
said
rule on
it's-
y'all's
I
own. It
said
wasn't a
it is-
standing law
I said
or rule.
it was a rule so that we didn't get, most of the time I said it had to do with media.
Yes, sir.
I told you that, and you said, and you, listen, guys, listen, let's not get out of hand because everything needs to go through the microphones. So what I said was, Mr. Woodworth, when he said, I'd like to talk to my rep, I said, I'm not trying to keep her from calling you. I will have her call you. Now, she called him on Sunday night. I told him she was going out of town. Between you and I, you didn't say, I want her to call me. You said you wanted to get more information and you were going to call me on Friday. Did you call me on Friday?
Sir, just like she's out of town, I got busy too on one-day
that's all right.
notice.
I'm just
But I
saying-
understand. I'm not trying to fight what you told me. Everything you're saying is correct, sir.
Okay,
I
that's
have
all.
emailed her 4 or 5 times. SAISD said her email was not working. I went to her family's place of business to look for her. Guys, we step down and I'll take a seat.
Mr. Cardenas, you're not, Mr. Cardenas, officer, listen, Danny, you've had that. You know we don't scream from the audience, okay? So let's just calm it down. All right, now I'm talking to Carla. All I was bringing you back up, Carla, was to say, you and I did have a conversation. I made myself available to you. I didn't hear back from you. If you had called back and said, as Mr. Woodward said, I really want to talk to her, was not trying to keep anybody from talking. She was following our procedures, okay?
Okay.
And if you don't like the procedure, I understand that.
No, sir. Everyone has policies and
So
procedures.
that's all I'm saying.
And I respect
And
that.
I don't want you holding it against her.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And you know what? I hope that this is not coming off as disrespectful because I don't want it to seem that way. We need a representative with a voice. I didn't see you at one meeting, ma'am, but you have personal things going on outside. If my life wouldn't have changed, I wouldn't have been able to be at every single meeting and be as involved as I am. I'm very, very busy. What is the purpose that you serve here? This is a big deal to our families. We needed you there, but more importantly, we need you today. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cardenas. No, just a second. I've got others that haven't spoken yet. Somebody raised their hand, and I don't know who it was that needed to come up.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Guess. I did not plan to speak tonight. In fact, I did not plan to come here until last week, because last week is when I heard that the school that I have chosen for the last almost 8 years for my 3 children is closing. Because we all know what your vote's going to be. This is all just a pony show here. This isn't real. Because our voices don't matter, the money matters. The reason I chose San Jacinto for all 3 of my children for the last 8 years is because of the teachers. And I've heard tonight you say all those teachers are going to either move with the class or they're all going to be in the class system. In a national teacher shortage, you want to put teachers in that position. I know teachers at San Jacinto who have been there for decades, and they have chosen to come back year after year, even during hardships, because they could make more money elsewhere, because we are a poor school. But they have chose to stay there, and they have chose to take care of our community. I would also like to inform you that San Jacinto is not my district. Glenmore is. I have had all 3 of my children. I am incredibly privileged, as poor as we are, to drive my 3 children to 3 different schools in San Angelo ISD. Every single day, I drive them to and pick them up. I spend over 15 minutes just to get my youngest daughter to San Jacinto in the morning and then to pick her up. That's 30 minutes of my day, every day, come rain or shine. Why would I do that? I could put her on a bus. I choose to do that because I know the teachers there care about their students. 8 years is little compared to some of the people here who have had generations going to this school. It means something to our community. But it is all about money, though. That's what it comes down to. It's not about making the classroom sizes right. It's not about taking load off of teachers. If that was your care, you would raise your teachers' pay. I have had the privilege of going to Reagan. My oldest son, who is here this evening, was in PPCD, and he started out at Reagan. And then he went to Austin, and then he went to McGill, and finally he landed at San Jacinto. I have nothing against any of those elementaries. They are full of the best people you could ask for. In fact, Aaron's teacher sitting from McGill is sitting right back there, Miss Walker. Love her to death, because she loved my son as if he was her own. Another person up here spoke about the hardship of moving a special needs child from one class to another, to one school to another. My eldest, who is now over at Lincoln, every time he gets to go back over to San Jacinto, everybody there knows him. Everybody there hugs him. If you want this problem to fix itself, you're going to have to spend a lot more money. It's not going to get fixed because you shove schools together. Start paying your teachers better. You're going to have to hire a whole lot more bus drivers if you expect this to work. And consider the lifelong impact that you are having on the community when you take a school away from children. Because parents will financially hurt. The children will emotionally hurt. And if this vote happens, which like I said, I know it will, my child will not be going back to Reagan. If I'm going to have to make that decision, if where I want to be gone is going to be gone, then I will choose somewhere else. And it might not be in the San Angelo School District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Guess. Mr. Persetti?
For most of you, I've been coming to these meetings probably for about 8 months, trying to get help for my son. I've never seen an audience like this, so it's great to see so many parents that are impassioned and concerned about their children's education. I do want to give you kind of some pointers that I've seen over the couple of months that I've been watching this. You know, they do talk about saving money. However, 3 meetings ago on a non-televised meeting, we voted for consent 100% to raise the money for Admin 111 so that we could have the highest incoming CFO ever in this district. That was done without anybody knowing. And that also sets up the other person that's in Admin 111 to get an adjustment. And so what they do is they'll say administration is only getting a 3% raise. We're giving a 5% raise to the teachers because we care. But that's because they never tell you about the adjustments. They don't tell you those. You have to do a FOIA request to get it, and they'll fight you tooth and nail to get it. The reason we have a third-party architecture, in my opinion, we've paid them over $150,000 to tell us why we're going to impact your school, is because if something goes sideways, they have to have a third party. Because if they did it, then it's on them. But if they paid someone to do it, they're like, well, they told us we did it, didn't work out, sorry. If you're going to make this vote and you're going to change these people's, totally impact their life, and the transition doesn't go well, then, I think that the superintendent should have to answer. So if you really want to do this, then say, I'm going to take ownership for this, and if it doesn't go well, then I'm going to take my lumps. Because every year y'all come in and you expand that contract and just keep giving raises and giving adjustments and giving stipends, but it doesn't go to the people that are out in the trenches. It doesn't go to the teachers. It stays here. Y'all want to see what it looks like? Go look at their new kitchen on your way out. It's the best kitchen in the district. We only have one cabinet maker. They used it to build that. They didn't use it to go and help your school. When we come down to talk about buses, we had a shortage this year. We couldn't even bus the high school kids to the high school. We don't even have enough buses right now. And if I wrote you a blank check and said, go get the buses, guess what? They're not available. So they don't have the ability to meet that criteria that they're promising you because we don't have the drivers and we don't have the buses. And if anybody wants to see the pictures, I have a picture of a bus that I found in service with a large hole in the side of it, a slash in the tire, and missing the inspection. That bus should have been red tagged, but they had it out in service in the middle of December. And these are the same buses that they're going to pull your kids into. We don't even have enough buses as it is now. So how are we going to, are we just going to rain down buses? You literally can't, even if you had $1 million, you can't go buy those buses. They're not available. Just like you can't go buy a new car, we can't go buy a new bus. We need more time to do this. When it comes down to stakeholders, it should be kids, teachers, the community. When we hear this transition, I don't hear anything about hiring more people to help with the transition. I don't hear anything, okay, for the first 3 years, we're going to double up on teachers and counselors and all that to help do this transition. All I hear is that we got to be in a hurry, and if we can go fast enough, we might get economy of scale and be able to get a better contractor so that we can build these schools faster. Never once heard about using local contractors. Never once heard any of that. You're just in a hurry to shut this stuff down so that you can get some of the stuff off of you. The whole reason that we got in this is because TLC is growing. Wall won't even take transfers. Paint Rock is busting our kids out of here. I know teachers in this district that their kids go to Miles. So to come up here and say, well, we don't know what's going on. Did you see the census? The population is going up. but you're going down. That's because you're not offering the people what they want. But yet we're going to give all the administration a raise. In a couple of months, we're going to vote to give that man a raise while we suffer. So if you vote for this and it doesn't go well, you need to have a plan on how you're going to replace that person. Do what's right for these people. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get up so we can, on the microphone, it'll get on the, it'll get on the record.
My name is Nolan Guess. I am Bonnie's husband. I've had all my children go through San Jacinto. I didn't come up here with prepared words to say, I didn't come up with fancy slides or anything like that. But I tell you one thing I do have, I have a community over here. I have a community of people who care about my family, my kids, in a way that I've not found anywhere else in this town. Anywhere else in this town. I would ask that you look at your constituents. You look at them, you see who they are, and you see how this change is going to affect their lives. And then do yourselves a favor. Do all of us a favor. And before you sacrifice our children, our families, our community on the altar of good economic sense, think about what you're doing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Guest. All right, have I gotten everyone? Okay. Is it a question for me personally?
Yeah, to you and the superintendent and the board.
Well, you've already, sorry, Mr. Cardenas, you've already,
I just wanted to ask you a question, sir. One question, okay? You are my representative.
here's the
I
deal.
want to ask you, what is the definition of a single-member district? What is it? What was it formed? Just answer me that question. You're a very smart man. That's all I want to...
We have districts around the city, divided out into 5, 6 districts, and one is at large. And within those borders, the people that live within those borders elect. You have to live in that district to be elected in that district.
Yes, sir.
That's I am elected from 5.
Yes, sir.
But unlike the city council, every one of the members here, as I told everyone that called me, you don't have to call your member to get something done for your school. We all represent all the schools. I have as much passion, these people may not believe it, for San Jacinto as I do Lamar. We don't vote on things that are, you talk about lawyers and doctors, most live in Lamar. Do you see Lamar? We on the agenda every month trying to get something for Lamar that I'm not trying to get for San Jacinto. We all try to take care of all the students in all our districts.
I understand your heart.
In your term, when you were on the city council, that wasn't the way it was. People had to call their city council member if they've got a pothole, because that's the person who has to take care of it. In the schools, if you have a problem, you first go to your teacher, then you go to your principal, and then after that, it goes up to the administration, because the school board is the last link of an appeal process to be heard. And if a board member gets involved too early, then they're conflicted out and they can't be that last link on the appeal process. That's not the way the city council works.
I served on the school board, Mr. Parker, and the reason they elected me to the school board and the council, because I was a voice. If you called me, I took action. I would call the superintendent.
I know, Mr. Cardenas, and I'm going to respectfully tell you this. That is not the way we've been trained. That wasn't the way you were trained.
Well, that's what you learn in your little workshops that you go to that the school district pays. We
No,
copycat.
that's what we learned
Yeah,
because I wasn't looking at this as a political step.
Sure.
as
No,
some
and I'm not
people
saying
do.
that.
No. So let's just, for right now, you and I can have our conversation. You and I have been, everybody should know this, you and I have been friends for how many years?
Past 30 years.
All right. So you and I are not adverse to each other. You and I can talk to each other later.
Sure.
So, but
You know,
right
this is
now,
the best way, Mr. Parker, in all due respect, this is the best way that the people in the community can see who their spokesman is, who the representative are, you know, and when they call them, all they have to do is answer a phone call. That's why they were elected to single-member districts, so their voice would be heard. It don't matter if you're on the school board or the city council. That's what single-member districts are for, to have a voice.
I don't disagree with that. I just said our rule was, if you get a call about information, it comes here or here to try to get that information so you don't get 7 different versions of facts.
Next time around, I'll run for the school board, and we'll see if I'll work that way. I can't work that way.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there anyone that wants an opportunity to speak that hasn't had the opportunity?
There shouldn't be 6 or 7 different facts. Everybody should be on the same.
Well, here's the reason I say that. Tonight will be the first time that we have spoken, because we can't discuss any of these things except as a board. It isn't one of those things that we go eat lunch with each other and we say, how are you going to vote? How are you going to vote? This is the first time we discuss it. The information that comes in can be gathered one at a time. I have sent emails all this week to get more information. Boards doesn't know what information I've got. I don't know what information they've gotten. So we try to centralize as much of the information. Usually board members will send me, here's information I received. So I usually keep up with the information, or I get it to the superintendent. But I understand your point. Your point's well taken. This is one of the few votes that we may take all year that may be particular to a particular school or school campus. Maybe one of the few I've had in my 18 years. I think when Mr. Cardenas was on the board, there was some school closures. What there, Mr. Cardenas? Yeah, and we haven't had any in my 18 years. This is the first time any of this has ever been discussed. So
You guys are taking a decision on something you really haven't even discussed with the group.
we've had many meetings with architects about things, but not with each other on how are we going to vote. People think we know we've voted, we've discussed on how we're going to vote. Well, I apologize for that. I'm just saying that has not been made. That's the reason it's brought for an action item for the first time tonight. Okay?
And y'all's meeting, is it going to be recorded so it's before you?
It's recorded right now. It's all going to be right here, right now, if we can get on with it. Mr. Cardenas, I didn't say you did. I'm just saying we haven't had any of that since then. Okay. All right. Everyone had a chance to speak, because then we're going to go to board discussion. All right. Turn it over to any board member that has anything they want to say, or anybody wants to make a motion. Sometimes we do that, and then we have discussion.
First of all, I'm Gerard Gallegos. I'm the representative of Single Member District 6. Been doing this since 2005. All of you people that spoke, I'm going to name you all off too: Dewey Ponder, Danny Cardenas, Rachel Perez, Carla Cardenas, Erica Gonzalez, Shelley Fossen, Dana Phelps, Myra Arredondo, Johnny Hernandez, Carla Cardenas. Who was the other Cardenas that spoke? Chelsea. I wanted to write that name down. Chelsea Cardenas. And Bonnie Guest and Nolan Guest. Thank you for speaking. I appreciate that, because back in 2005, This is going to be a long-winded one, so get ready. Back in 2005, I think they were going to close, we were going to be down to 5 or 6 elementary schools. And I did exactly like every one of you did right there. I came up and spoke. I said, I don't want my school to close. Everything changed. We moved over, let's do a bond. Okay, I got on the board, we did a bond. 2008, that bond passed. We even called it a long-range comprehensive maintenance plan, I think is what we called it, Max. And 2008, we did that. We got it done because, one, like you, I was ticked off because they were going to close my school. Okay? It was going to affect my kids. They were going to send them somewhere. I don't know where they want to send them, what the plan was then. However, I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm going to run. I'm going to run. I'm going to run. And I ran for that office. I remember my little sign said, without a plan, you build on sand. I remember saying that. However, we came up with a plan. We came up with a plan. And that plan consisted of the first phase of that bond was to fix up the majority of the schools on the north side. Okay, because they were not touched. They hadn't been touched in 50 years when I got on there. You think some of these schools are bad. Holloman, you couldn't even walk in without smelling sewer gas in the classrooms. Goliad, Bradford, San Jacinto, Reagan. Who else got done on that? Lee Middle School now, Lone Star Middle School, Central High School, Lakeview, and all those we added square footage. And at that time, our school district was at a low of, I think, 13,000 students, kind of like where we are right now. Okay, and I was very happy that we did that because we needed the square footage and we added classrooms and we had an increase in student volume. But the thing I learned from all that was that if you're going to be a voice, be a voice. Run. We just had an election. We just had an election, or we're in the middle of an election. We had up until February, to sign up to run if you wanted to run? Run! I'm old, okay? I'm old. My kids have graduated and moved on. We have young people that have kids in school here on this board. Max and I are the only ones, I think, and Bill are the ones that don't have kids in this school district. Every one of you, well, and Pam as well, but everyone else has kids in the schools. And if you're passionate about this and you want to make changes, whether, I don't know which way this is going to go, but if you want to make changes to that, run. And I do count on you running, okay? Because you know what? That's what I want. That's what I want. You know, it's like I told my brother one day, I said, what was always gets in the way of what can be. Okay, I think I told Amy that when we were going to Austin the other day. I said, what was always gets in the way of what can be. You get to a certain point to where, hey man, I need young people in here, decision makers. Okay, and I love having all of you here saying this, okay? I love it all. But like I said, the 2008 bond, we got all that done. We went ahead and said, okay, let's start working on the second phase, which was to cover the schools that were never touched. Alta Loma, Austin, Fannin, Bowie, Glenn Middle School. None of these schools were touched in the first bond. And that was the plan to do. I think, who was it that said at one of the meetings, what is your plan B? Who was it that said that? Everybody. Well, no, I think it was a couple of meetings back. I think it was Ms. Yeah, it was you. It was you that said that. What is your plan B? And I wanted to tell you, this is our plan B. Because our two plan A's, we tried it twice in 2019. They failed miserably. Well, the first one, get this, the first one failed by 3 votes. 3 votes. And I remember asking Dr. Detloff, because we were pretty upset that it failed by 3 votes. I said, let's look in this area, the people that voted in that area, where it was going to affect. It's mainly Austin, Alta Loma, Fannin, all this, because we needed to get those fixed. We knew they needed to be fixed. 5 to 15 people out of 1,000 eligible voters, 5 to 15 voted. 5 to 15. And we've lost by 3. Okay? So, let's do it again. We'll get them to vote.
I was a very young girl then.
No. I'm not talking about you.
I guarantee
No. I'm not referring to you, Ms. Cardenas. I'm referring to people that vote. Go vote. That's what y'all, this should have been done, and not just you, but I'm talking people that have come here. Someone spoke, said that they were around in 2019 and had kids, and I don't know if they voted or not, but there's people that just didn't get out and vote. So, I don't see how anyone can say no to a bond. How can anyone say no to kids? And that's what's been driving me crazy all this time since 2019 is 2008. The first one failed, the second one passed. And I keep going, why do people say no? It's not that people are saying no. It's that the people who it most affects do not get out and vote. And that's what drives me nuts. But I'm just saying, I appreciate every one of you being here. Okay? Every one of you being here and expressing your voice. Okay? And more power to you, sir, if you run. Okay? I want to see you run. I want to see that. I want to see some of you get involved in this stuff. Don't wait till the last minute and show up. You were at every meeting. I saw you at the meetings. And there were a lot of y'all that I saw at the meetings. And I appreciate every one of y'all going. I was there too. I think I missed the first one at San Jacinto because I was working. But after that, I was at all of them. So I appreciate y'all's voice and speaking up. But I have been there. I've been there, and because I was there is the reason I am here right now. And the reason I've been doing it for 18 years. So, thank you.
All right, I'll talk. So as I've been looking at all this, I'll be honest, I talk to my wife a lot because she's smarter than me. But the one thing that she told me is to pray for discernment and wisdom. And that's what I've been trying to do. And then look at the facts that are in front of us. And the fact that enrollment at our elementaries is not at where the optimal capacity of our campuses are currently or where state funding is going. That the plan that was proposed by the administration does address 6 out of 7 of our smaller campuses. The campuses with a larger property are preserved, and that the campuses touched by the 2008 bond were preserved. I looked at the fact that this whole idea of decreasing cost, okay, I care about decreasing costs, but what I really care about is having money to put on in kids. And part of that is decreasing maintenance costs, not cost per kid. Okay.
How much over budget will we last year?
In our district, every one of these campuses affects kids throughout the district because we filter to 2 high schools. Okay, we do. Every one of these kids. We all end up together. We're in 2 high schools. We don't have 15 high schools in San Angelo. We have 2 high schools. And improving our special ed experience and early childhood experience will be better for all kids in our district. The more I thought about this before tonight, and then hearing all of the parents talk tonight about their experiences at school, at San Jacinto in particular. I think there's one at Altaloma as well. I know there was. The reality is, every one of you talks about the people. You're not talking about the campus. You're talking about the people. The people are who, you talk about the teacher, you talk about the principals. And those people and the kids that are with your children right now do need to go together. And that's why we looked at making sure alignments matched and that we didn't change feeder patterns, why we didn't go move one school into 3 different schools, why we didn't make Reagan split up into 3 different schools to be part of it, so that those kids, we looked, and I promise you we did, we looked at a lot of different options, or were given a lot of different options, but it meant instead of moving a whole cohort of kids together, it meant sending kids from Reagan to 3 different elementary schools. That's not better for all the kids in this district. That's not looking out for everybody. I do think that, and I do think the lumps do come to Dr. Detloff, Dr. Gomez, and our administration team. We have to make this work. If it doesn't work, and if I don't even know, I'm going to make a motion here in a minute. I don't even know I'm going to get a second, okay? But the reality is we have to make this work. And if it doesn't work, it's on every one of us, and it's on them, okay? If our PLCs aren't created so that the teachers working together don't get better responses and better experiences for your kids, we screwed up. I almost said a bad word, but we screwed up, okay? And we don't want to screw up, okay? We want this to work for every kid. We want every kid to have a better experience. To Mr. Cardenas' point, these are not Reagan and San Jacinto are not two low-performing schools. They're B campuses in a overall district. Okay, we're not moving kids from a low-performing school to another low-performing school. We're moving kids from a state accountability B school to a state accountability B school. And in our other schools, in Austin and Alta Loma, we are moving to higher-ranked schools. We know, we talked about COVID and the fact that kids haven't been in the district. I think we talked about kids, not knowing their alphabet when they got into school. Like, the reality is we know we need more interventionists, more specialists on campuses. We don't need them driving between campuses. We need them in with your kids. We need them in with my kids. We need them in with every kid because we don't need them driving across town. We need them on your campus. We need them to stay there. We need an assistant principal at every campus that can sit there and be there. We need enough teachers on every campus. And when I was looking at it, those are the reasons that I am going to make a motion that in August of 2023, San Jacinto Elementary students change campuses and combine with Reagan Elementary, located at 1600 Volney Street. That the San Jacinto attendance zone would be part of the Reagan attendance zone. In August of 2023, we would merge the entire SISD pre-K program and early childhood special education programs, 3s and 4s, to San Jacinto Elementary School located at 800 Spalding Street. In August of 2024, let's make sure I got my dates right. We would look to expand McGill Elementary to include the attendance zones of Austin Elementary, and Austin Elementary attendance zone will become part of McGill. In August 2024, we'd also expand Fannon's Elementary to house Alta Loma Elementary and include Alta Loma's attendance zone with Fannin. And then we would repurpose or close Austin and Alta Loma or Alta Loma Elementary.
All right, Dr. Kingman's made a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Parker, we've been working on this for quite some time, and I know that we've been accused of being uncaring and callous. There's a lot of angst and concern in this room. There's a lot of angst and concern on this board. We've been wrestling with this for almost a year now. It's been a challenge to find solutions to move this district forward as we just come into the situation that we're in right now. These decisions don't come easy or even cut and dried, and neither of these proposals come lightly. I mean, somebody said they're losing sleep over this. I lose sleep over this. I've been losing sleep over this for the past 6 months, asking what we're going to do to these kids and what the backside of this whole situation looks like. I know in the short term we are looking at some serious angst and concern, but in the long term, I think not only the district, but your kids are going to come out of this situation better, in some better facilities, and long term in a better situation as far as classroom and teachers are concerned. Just overall better situation as we move forward with this district, and I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Dr. Kingman and a second by Mr. Dindal. As outlined by Dr. Kingman, does everyone understand what's been the motion? All right, is there any other board comment or discussion?
Yes, Mr. Parker. Sorry. I'm sorry I cannot vote for this motion as it has. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. As it has been made, I'm okay moving students from Austin to McGill and Alta Loma to Fannin, as both McGill and Fannin will have new constructions and better opportunities. And all these students will have better facilities than they do now. However, that will not be the case for San Jacinto students if they move to Reagan. San Jacinto students have good facilities now. So as the motion is phrased for San Jacinto students to move to Reagan, I'm sorry, but my vote is no.
Thank you, Ms. Arroyo. Any other board discussion or comment?
I did forget to mention one thing back in 2005, when I did run, I said I would never close a school. And you know I've always said that, Max. And Taylor and Bill and Amy. I think me and Amy have had a discussion when it first started. I said, I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, that's one thing I did say back then. And that was a long time ago. I made a promise that I would, and we kept schools open. So I don't want to close schools. I'm doing it to keep, I would love to keep Alta Loma and Austin and Fannin, and somehow if we could look at a bond, but you know, like I said, this is the plan B. Now, you know, like I said, I don't want to close a school, but if this is what happens, this is what happens. So we will work going forward with what we have. So, you know, I'll cast my vote when you ask, after everyone makes their comments.
So I've been a teacher for 29 years, and I was at Glenn when we closed Edison, and Edison kids came to Glenn. I will say that students are resilient, and they were my heroes, they were my champs, because within a month they were fine. They were okay being there. But I've also, you know, only been on the board for a short time, and coming onto the board after being in the classroom and being on campuses, I said that I would never do anything unless every ounce of my soul felt it was the right thing to do. And I do feel like 2/3 of it is exactly the right thing. But tonight I'm going to have to side with Ms. Arroyo and say there's something.
Ms. Flint?
I wasn't sure if Ms. Duncan was done yet. So I have, first of all, I'd also like to thank all of you for coming and speaking so passionately. I always go back to when I was in 5th grade, and I lived in Florida, and the school board tried to close our school. And I remember as a 5th grader, me standing there with a sign saying, "Save my school, save my school." And we ended up being able to save the school, and today that school is kind of on prime real estate in Florida, on a main street. And I don't know if that's going to happen tonight, but a couple things that I really just wanted to say while I have a few minutes. The first thing is that one of the reasons that I've been so proud to serve on this board for 10 years now is that when we have conversations and we look at, you know, what's the right thing to do, the question comes back to what's right for the kids. And every member of this board always votes for what's right for kids. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it might not feel right at the moment, but at the long term, we have to look at the whole picture. I was voted by my single district, but I look at the entire district, not just my district. And the truth is that this vote affects not just one school, but it affects the entire district long term. And so I'm kind of with Pam, where I feel, Ms. Duncan, where I feel like 2/3 of this is exactly right, and I'm struggling with the Santa Rita, or with the San Jacinto piece. So I haven't officially decided either way yet.
Okay. Last time I made a motion, they timed it and said it was 42 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. But I do want to make a few comments. Someone said we've been raising tax rates. We haven't raised tax rates in forever. Some of your taxes have gone up because your house's appraisal's gone up, but not because we've raised taxes. Your tax rate's been going down. Someone said we need to give teacher raises. We've given teachers raises for all but 1 year out of the last maybe 15 years. We care for our teachers. We want to keep all our teachers. We're doing everything we can to retain them. What I said earlier, this is not something that we picked these particular campuses because they were low socioeconomic. We picked them because they're 6 of the 7 smallest enrollment campuses, and all across the state, you'll find that this same issue is going on, where there's districts that have declining enrollment that they're having to consolidate campuses, because as much as we might want to keep campuses around that have 275 students, it's just not cost effective. It's not just saving money, it's just not cost effective. We haven't discussed, someone said we haven't even discussed using local contractors. We haven't discussed any contractors for any of the improvements that would be made at McGill or Fannin. That all has to go through votes. It has to go through a vetting process. If local contractors bid, then they're considered just as much as any out-of-town contractor. The reason it's important that if we do anything at Fannin and we do anything at McGill as soon as possible is because of that process. It has to be, architectural plans have to be drawn up, we have to get bids, and we have to get, as all of you probably know, construction costs go up daily. The sooner we get a bid, then the sooner we get locked in on cost. If we wait a year, 2 years on those costs, then we can't afford it. We have the savings that we have that we can use on this is locked, and we won't be able to do at least the improvements if we continue to wait. We chose this particular architecture firm, which is catching some heat tonight, because we needed an architecture firm that understood school facilities. There's select firms across the state that do nothing but schools. They have the ability to go in and inspect schools and make estimates, which is what we asked them to do. We said, look at all the campuses that weren't funded at all with the 2008 bond, that haven't had any bond money, and make estimates of how much it's going to cost us for maintenance for the next 20 years, and rank those, the ones that need improvements the soonest. They did that. And those that needed the most were the ones that have been listed here: Altaloma, Fannin, Austin, and McGill. And they were able to give us estimates of what that would be. And for Altaloma, $3.2 million, Austin, $3.7 million. And that needs to be done ASAP. We're holding our breath that if we get this opened in 2024, that we can avoid those costs, because putting cost into a district that's losing students, and then you're not going to keep that campus open, makes no sense. Now, the San Jacinto to Reagan is not a cost-cutting measure from the standpoint that if we change San Jacinto to Reagan, that we're going to save money on that. What we do accomplish by that is we get, as what's already been outlined, it allows a campus that is in good condition, that is ADA compliant, that we can use for a full-time, a district-wide 3K, 4K special ed department, a campus for all our 3K, 4K special ed students, and all our pre-K students district-wide, which is something that we need, something that we told our architects, if we have any of these campuses that may get moved, will any of them be in good enough shape that we can utilize it for that without having to spend a lot of money on upgrades? And it so happened that San Jacinto was the campus that allowed that. Altaloma wouldn't allow it. Austin would allow it because they still have that over $3 million that need to be spent on both if we were going to use one of those campuses for that. So that's what makes this decision very difficult, because I understand the passion that you guys have. I told you my wife took care of special needs children. 2 of my children have ADHD. And the parents probably that spoke on that know that, but when they go to middle school, there's going to be another transition. When they go to high school, there's going to be another transition. So that transition is going to happen at some point in time. But where I grew up, and I'm probably the oldest person in this room, I grew up in Comanche. If I take my kids to Comanche, or when I did take my kids to Comanche, they're all grown now, and wanted to show them my elementary school, it's a vacant lot. It's been torn down. My middle school, where I went to school, torn down. It's gone. The high school's gone. Nothing. 3 vacant lots I can show them. Here's where I played football. It's another vacant lot. I had them dig down and say, you know what that is? That's cinder. That's where I won district for 2 years. That's cinder. You can't see it. It's all grown up. That's the track. Has a beautiful high school and all new schools that got built now 25 years ago. But my schools, my history is gone. So I know how that feels. I could walk to the football field from my house. Now it's totally on the other side of town where I grew up. So I know these things, it's not the same, nothing's the same, but I do understand that you have history, you have passion for your school. I do agree with what others have said, that most of what you enjoy there is not because it's a great building. You enjoy the camaraderie, you enjoy your teachers, and the location. I understand that. And at some point in time, whether it happens tonight or not, it's probably going to have to change at some point in time. We're, as we said before, somebody asked about our budget. Our budget would have been a deficit budget this year, except we got some kind of money, well, ESSER, but there was another thing that came from last year or the year before. We had money that came in this year that didn't come in a couple of years ago. But if we hadn't had those funds, we would have had a deficit budget. And we've been told we're going to be okay with budget this year. But the next year after that, if we don't get more state funding, something's going to have to give. And the thing about when something has to give, when 85% of your budget is salaries, that means somebody's going to lose jobs. It's not something we can just buy less toilet paper. And so we've been trying to tighten our belt, and this is one of those measures, not saying San Jacinto to Reagan is to tighten the belt, but it does provide a facility that we desperately need that we don't have the funds to build for a full-time, a district-wide early childhood special ed and a early childhood pre-K. So those are the things that are on my mind. Unless any other board member has anything else to say, I'm going to call this for a vote now, and then we'll see. And I think everybody just going to have to raise their hand, so we'll see how this is going to go.
Can I ask a clarification before we
Yes,
go to
you
vote?
can. Yes, you can.
Okay, it is my understanding, it's my understanding from the facilities assessment that there is not currently a district facility that can house our inclusion special ed and pre-K and continue to maintain their element, like Reagan, North San Jacinto can maintain their current enrollment and adds all of our special ed students. That's my understanding.
That's correct.
Is there a facility that is touched by the 2008 bond that can house inclusion, special ed, pre-K, and which the state is requiring, and get and hold anywhere in our campuses and stay as an elementary school or middle school or anything else? Do we have that capacity anywhere else? All the pre-Ks, sorry. Do we have a campus that can hold in the entirety of that can provide inclusion, special ed, pre-3 and 4 on a campus to the scale that we want to without moving students somewhere? Yeah, we don't. Yeah, no, I understand the problem. I understand that we have to provide, we need a facility that does provide that. And we don't have that facility currently. And we don't have the money to build that facility. Yeah.
Reagan has 100 students between special ed and pre-K already in their school. 100 of them are pre-K and special ed already. It's already established at Reagan.
Let me have Dr. Gomez explain where we're getting, I don't know if it's called criticism, or we're getting the TEA has a problem with SAISD, the way we're handling things. Would you explain that to everyone?
To go back to your first question, it's the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act revisions that were done in the 08 bond, specifically at San Jacinto, over any of the other campuses, is why the recommendation was made for that site specifically. To go back to the specifics of early childhood special education 3s and 4s, when you have 1 to 2 classes on several campuses that have 1 or 2 a general education pre-K classrooms to include age-appropriate peers, it's an overload on the teachers in those classrooms for inclusion purposes. So that's when you have more than 1 classroom for the students to be included in, then you can spread them out more so that they have more time to be with age-appropriate peers.
And I know we're not talking about our 10-year plan, but part of the reason, just to clarify why we're looking at Reagan, why I was looking at Reagan over San Jacinto is it's 8 acres versus 3.5 acres. And so the idea is that we could build an entire new, and they're both still old elementaries. Yeah, we build a brand new school in a long-term plan, at Reagan and not have to displace students while that school is being built right in front of it.
Which is similar to what happened with Holloman in the past bond.
And what we're trying to do at McGill. If
Correct.
we could do it.
So I think, Carla, could be wrong. I think what maybe they're wanting to know is San Jacinto not large enough to do both? Keep regular there and make it a pre-K school? Is that what?
It's not large enough to keep, to house all of the district pre-K and all of the district early childhood 3s and 4s, plus regular K through 5 students.
Okay.
Because of capacity.
Let me see if I understand this right. I think part of this is we're looking for a place for 3-year-old and 4-year-old special ed. And then they need to we don't have 3-year-old pre-K, but they need to have 4K to be able to include it in some of those 4K classes. And San Jacinto doesn't have a pre-K program right now that would and so I think what the question would be, if I'm understanding right, is does San Jacinto have enough, well, you don't have enough room to move all the pre-K and the 3K, 4K, like we're already planning on doing, and keep all the other first grade through, or the kindergarten through 5th grades there, if I'm understanding right, okay? That's what they're doing. The special ed, well, go ahead and explain it, Dr. Gomez.
So they're currently they're not at every campus in the district. It goes back to available staff and services. And when you're in a time of shortages with staff and availability, they're spread out. And so you can't provide those services all throughout town. And that's why the recommendation is to provide a specialized center. So you notice in the recommendation from the architecture, it mentioned the ground floor. You can't put children, 3s and 4s in the upstairs. So the upstairs would not be used for the early childhood center. There's not enough classroom space for kinder through 5th grade to house the rest of the students at San Jacinto, plus the 3s in early childhood special education district-wide, the 4s early childhood special education district-wide, and the pre-K classrooms district-wide, to go back to the original question that was posed.
We don't have many shuttered elementary schools. Travis doesn't belong to us. That was sold off. That was sold off years ago, and that's the only one we have. That's the only one we have. Rio Vista's being used. Rio Vista's being used. San Jacinto's being used. I mean, not San Jacinto. Sam Houston's. All these schools that you're saying they're being used. They're all full. Blackshear, Rio Vista, they're being used. So the only one that we have that is shuttered and doing absolutely nothing that we don't have is Travis, which was sold off years ago. So, the only reason I'm saying is because everyone always says, you got that property in Travis. No, that we don't own that. And then Sam Houston, we have offices there, so.
Well, part of this I mentioned earlier when someone said, why don't we have a special ed campus for all special ed? That way you get a congregation of a lot of teachers and be able to offer a lot of services that you might not get for a smaller number. But also, you want those children that can be included in the regular classes, you want to make sure they have enough peer groups, regular classmates that they can also, I'm telling you things that I'm not a specialist in, but I know that the TEA is criticizing SAISD because we're not doing this, and we don't have the money to build a facility. If we knew this town would support a bond, we could include it in a bond, but that's where we've been gun shy on bonds and trying not to pass a bond right now, and a lot of people are saying we can't afford the taxes that we have now because your houses of appraisals have gone up, but the tax rate didn't, and that's why. Well, and I'm saying but it doesn't have anything to do because the school caused it to go up. Well, I'm telling you, guys are giving us hope. I'm telling you, there's not anybody that's come to this in the last in
the last bond election. You know what? The last bond election we had, 2019. I would have loved to seen every single one of y'all here. You know what we had? We had nothing but old people that didn't want their taxes to go up.
Let's make a vote, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
All right, guys, listen. We've got a motion and a second. We need to vote on this. All right, and let.
Why can't we split that? Keep our school alive.
And if kids from 3 and 4 can't go upstairs and use up the upstairs, why don't
Okay, hang on, guys, hang on. Listen. Part of this is my fault. I started talking to the audience. Okay, but we've got a motion and a second that have got to be voted on. All right. So everybody knows the motion. The motion includes everything that was discussed. It includes San Jacinto to Reagan, Austin to McGill, Altaloma to Fannin. So, for that particular motion, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. 2 people. Motion fails.
Can I make
Wait a second, guys. We're not through.
Can I make a second motion?
Yes. What? Oh, okay. All opposed, say no. No. Did you vote?
She said no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2 to 5.
All
right. Now, Attorney, Dr. Kingman.
The question: if we looked at the splitting special ed between 2 campuses, is that something we could have enough information on to look at our next meeting?
Yes.
Do we have enough information in our plan to be able to do that with the ADA improvements that are already at both Reagan and San Jacinto and still vote on the other 2 campuses for 2025 tonight?
Well,
I think you can definitely vote on the other 2.
what?
So I'm just asking. So what I don't want to do is, if we had money to move McGill and Austin, which is McGill and Austin both need $20 million worth of work, really, not past the immediate, and Altaloma and Fannin, which also need more than $20 million of work. Do we have the money? Looking at our assessment, my understanding is we have the money. So but I don't want to make a vote on something and not have the money to vote to move those 2 things forward, and then reevaluate whether or not we can hold our special ed between 2 campuses, keep Reagan and San Jacinto both at K through 5, but with half the district special eds going to Reagan, half going to San Jacinto.
Without having to spend more money at Reagan or San Jacinto to make that happen?
With still having the fund balance to do that is the upfront cost, because Reagan's still already housing it, and we're going to have the money to make San Jacinto, the entire special ed pre-K in the previous motion that I just gave. So we should have the money to do the others.
So,
Sure if this is working. Okay, Dr. Kingman, Mr. Parker, I think there's a couple things on the table here. I think the board has spoken, and first, I want all our constituents to know I was superintendent when a bond failed, 2 bonds, and we moved forward because we're in this business for the success of kids. Everyone heard my recommendation this evening. That's cost containment measures for the future. However, the community has spoken. Our Board of Trustees, the elected officials by you, have spoken on the potential merger of San Jacinto to Reagan. So we have 2 options available still. If the board chooses to, and someone makes a motion to vote, we can move forward if the board approves and passes that motion for the other 2 campuses. I think, Dr. Keenan, to your question, that we could pull out the special education situation and challenge and look at that, because that would be a movement of teachers and classrooms. I don't think the construction cost at McGill is going to be, the essential basics of what the high cost measures are. So that's up to the Board of Trustees, but the board has spoken, the community's spoken. I think we understand that we voted against, our Board of Trustees voted against the merger from San Jacinto to Reagan. Now the question posed in front of the board is, does someone want to make a motion for the other 2 campuses? We can evaluate and look at special education, or we don't have to make a motion at all. We're here to do the work of the district, and we will carry that on regardless of what the outcome is.
Who knows? We'll see how it goes. I'm going to make a motion to do in August of 2024 for McGill and McGill and Austin for McGill to absorb the Austin Elementary attendance zone in the 24-25 year, and the Austin Elementary attendance zone, and then Austin Elementary to be closed or repurposed. And then in August of 2024 for Fannin Elementary to house the Alta Loma students, with Alta Loma Elementary closing or being repurposed in 2024.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion by Dr. Kingman and a second by Ms. Mizell Flint for Austin to move to McGill and Alta Loma to move to Fannin. I have a question for our architects. I know y'all are frantically calculating, but the move from Austin to McGill and Alta Loma to Fannin was assuming that those campuses would no longer have pre-K. All right. I just don't want us to approve something and then it's like it won't work. All right. Any other board discussion or questions?
Can I say something really quick?
Yes.
I'm just looking out, and a lot of the kids have left already, but I still do see a few in there or out there, and I just wanted to I see you guys, and I just wanted to just like when I was in 5th grade and I helped save my school, I want for the kids who are there who are who are part of this historic vote, really for your school to remember this and be active in your community and active in your schools, not just now, but when you grow up, you can be a school board member and listen to the kids that are talking to you and to the parents that are talking to you too.
All right, I'll call a vote. Everyone knows what the motion is. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Or raise your hand then. Aye. All opposed? All right, 6-1. Motion passes. I would say this again to you out there, what I was saying before. The bonds we had in 18 and 19, I think both times, at least maybe in 19, we had no one come to a board meeting to say anything for or against. Well, I'm saying we had no idea we were going to lose as bad as we did when we'd only lost by 2. Nobody said anything against it until after we made the motion, and then letters to the editor and everything else started coming out. And so we need you. I don't know whether it's been made clear. We're going to have to call a bond shortly to be able to do everything that we want to do on some of the other campuses that are going to need work. This is a big Band-Aid when you talk about 20 million, but it's the bond that we had proposed was going to give 20 million to Fannin, 20 million to McGill, 20 million on several campuses that needed a lot of work. So this is not nearly enough. And I don't want y'all to forget, even if we're preserving your campus right now, these other campuses are going to need, still going to need improvements.
Well, we also have a lot of contractors here in San Angelo that will do this work for a fraction of the cost of hiring outside companies.
Well, that you can come to those meetings when we come to that, because you'll find out that there's sometimes those companies are able to do it and able to bid, and sometimes they're not. And the guy right beside you is the one that's going to know all about it, Mr. Henry, when you're bidding out a $10 million contract. So that's, you get with him, but that's what happens sometimes. So at any rate, we've got other things on our agenda, believe it or not, that we have to finish out a meeting. So does anybody need to take a break before we go through with? All right. All right. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back in 5 or 10 minutes. All right. We've had a break and we're back on the record. Jack, are we on? All right. All right. We need to move on. We've got a couple of action items. First, our consent items. We need to consider donations, consider nomination of candidates to serve on the Board of Directors of the Tom Green County Appraisal District. C, consider superintendent's recommendations for personnel. I'm looking at Jason. We have something there. Yeah. Consider bid number 20-014 curriculum and instruction materials. Consider bid number 22.028 HVAC chiller preventive maintenance. That was item E, and item F is consider TASB Board Policy Update 120. So that's consent items A through F, which we discussed at our pre-agenda meeting about 2 weeks ago. Do I hear a motion to
Move for approval.
I've had a motion.
Second.
All right. A motion by Mr. Dindal, second by Dr. Kingman to approve the consent items. Is there any other board discussion? Is there any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes. All right, Dr. Brandon, consider bills, accounts, and financial statements for January 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and accounts from January 2023. As a note, all of our financial statements, including our checkbook, are available on the website under financial transparency, and have all been discussed at our pre-agenda meeting previously. So a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Dr. Kingman and a second by Mr. Dindal. Is there any other board comment? Is there any public comment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. And Mr. Henry, consider RFQ number 23-003, Central High School band uniforms.
Tonight I bring you RFQ 23-003 Central High School band uniforms. In coordination with the Central High School band director, specifications were created for an RFQ that was produced and for pricing to replace the current Central High School band uniforms. The RFQ was sent to 10 vendors. We received 3 quality bids for these uniforms. One was declared not an equal. Sketches, specifications, and examples were reviewed, and with the assistance of the Central Band Director and the Central High School Administration, the bids were scored. Not only did Fred J. Miller have the lowest bid price, but they also received the highest score. The administration recommends awarding Central High School band uniforms to Fred J. Miller, Inc. This will replace all of Central High School band uniforms for a total cost of $231,220.50. Do you all have any questions over this?
And Mr. Henry, I know we discussed this at pre-agenda, but will you just remind our public when the last time we bought Central band uniforms was? Or maybe Amy will do it if you don't remember.
I think Amy and I agreed it was 2016.
And these would be available for next season's competition or the following season?
We're shooting to have them in late July, hoping to have them in late July, possibly early August, so that they can have them. They'd like to wear them at homecoming.
And this is for how many students?
350.
350, okay.
And our history is that we alternate purchasing uniforms for each of our high school band programs, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a drawing in there. One of the great things about these uniforms is they're modular, so they can add and take away pieces as their show changes at a lower cost.
Mr. Henry, this is a weird question. What do we do with the uniforms we have? What do we do with those?
We usually send them to be destroyed.
Oh.
I did write in here, I was hoping that they would buy them back from us like a trade-in.
Right.
And out of the 3 vendors that responded, they all responded no.
No.
They wouldn't take them as a trade-in. Apparently, there's not a large market for
Ms. Duncan, for the last uniforms that were replaced, a parent who knew how to sew in the band actually used parts of the uniform to make little purses and backpacks and things, and they were wonderful mementos for my kids who graduated and used to wear those uniforms. So
Right.
great fundraiser. So maybe somebody this year can do that too.
Okay, I was hoping that maybe they'd buy them back. Another school might love them.
That's what I was hoping. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah.
And when I talked to the band director, he kind of chuckled when I told him I was putting that in there. That's not usually done. It's kind of like buying used football uniforms.
Wishful thinking.
Okay, well, I move that we award the Central High School band uniforms to Fred J. Miller, Inc. This will replace all Central High School band uniforms for a total cost of $231,220.50.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Mizell Flint with a second by Ms. Arroyo to approve this agenda item. Is there any other board discussion? Is there any other public comment? If not, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes. That's all our, I missed something?
Before Mr. Henry gets away, I just wanted to say thank you for his efforts. We've got a lot going on in the district with the revitalization plan and RFPs, and he's very much prioritized any of our facilities that student learning spaces, our elementary gymnasiums. He's been working on that and pushed that to the front, and so that work will begin after the board approves those bids in March. So I just wanted to say thank you for his work and what he's got going on in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Brandon. Were you able to pick that up, Jack? I don't know if the microphone was on. All right, go ahead and put your microphone on and say it again.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to Mr. Henry. We've got, with the revitalization plan, we've got a lot going on across the district, a lot of RFPs, and he has certainly made an effort to prioritize those RFPs that deal with student learning spaces, our elementary gymnasiums, the work that's going to be going on in there. That's a priority. And so he's already sent those out. The board will be seeing those in March. And then we'll have that work beginning pretty quickly. So we just appreciate the effort in seeing those projects through.
Good job, Mr. Henry. All right. Just these announcements. Our finance pre-agenda workshop is March 20, and our regular board meeting is March 27th. And I don't think we have to go into executive session for anything. So unless anyone else is going to stop me, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. Thanks for being here.